Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen, and shout out to Big Dick MLJ as always for the intro. It is Thursday, March 14th. Jensen, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Looking forward to talking about a bunch of professional wrestling with you today, Jeremy. Went to Dave & Buster's, damn it, for a little bit last night, and then watched AEW Dynamite. So, got some big news.
Dave & Buster's, damn it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, things are good on my end. How about you, man?
Doing well. Busy time as always. It's a busy time, but a lot of good wrestling to talk about, including Dynamite last night. Cody being a crybaby himself, which I'm sure you are looking forward to talking about. We got a great interview with Scotty Riggs coming up at 11 o'clock. We went about an hour and 40 minutes with Scotty. I will kind of warn everybody. It's not so much a warning, but just let everybody know the first half of the interview, it's very depressing. I don't know if I can put that in better terms. It's a depressing first half, but stick with it. And then the second half really picks up, and we get the journey to the top for Scotty, and then talk about his comeback. We talk about high points of his career and things like that. So, you know, the first half of the interview, if you're feeling like, ooh, I don't know about this, I don't feel like being depressed at 11 o'clock in the morning, I promise you it's worth it to get to the high points by about 11:45. So just or 10. Geez, my time is way off. 10 o'clock, 10:40, 10:45.
Yes.
So stick with it. It was a really fun time with Scotty Riggs, though. Really enjoyed that interview.
Yeah, it was a great interview. And I guess if you can remind everyone when I leave before you tee the interview up once again. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, for you to know Scotty's story and like where he is right now, you need to know the first half of the interview to like fully understand like where he is now. And so, but like Jeremy said, the beginning of the interview, he really opens up, and he really explains kind of everything and kind of where how he got to the place that he was in. And then the second half of the interview is like, we're talking WCW, ECW, his redemption, all that stuff. So yeah, really, really good interview. And that's why we went like an hour and 40, because me and Jeremy were talking afterwards. We were like, man, we're so glad we got to do it for that long, because we didn't want to have to do like a part one where it's like before the turnaround, and then have to do a second one really covering all the wrestling. So we got to do everything all within like that hour and 40 minutes. So I, like Jeremy said, I think you guys are going to really enjoy that interview. And Scotty's a guy that I've been a fan of my whole life. I know Jeremy's a fan from back in the day and stuff as well. So it was really cool that he gave us so much time, that he was so open with us. And if you know his story, he's been through a lot, and he's had a huge turnaround recently with Diamond Dallas Page and with Buff Bagwell. But if you don't know, this interview is going to be great. I don't know what I'm trying to say. This interview will kind of get you caught up and really explain kind of where he's at and where things are in this huge turnaround. So one of the best interviews I think we've ever done, honestly. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Guys, you can leave a thumbs up on the video. You can leave a super chat in the chat over there. Get your question, comment, statement read on the air. Subscribe to the channel. You can subscribe to FightfulOverBook.com. You can head over to Fightful.com for all the news. All right. Anything? Do you want to briefly talk NFL free agency, Jensen? We're big football fans.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is gone. I know that's a soft spot for you.
Yeah. So I will say, I am a Kirk Cousins fan. I wanted him to stay with the Vikings, but I mean, there's just no possible way the Vikings were going to pay anything near what the Falcons offered him. It just wasn't going to happen. He'd been with our team for 6 seasons. We'd won one playoff game in that amount of time. he is a really good fantasy quarterback, depending on your fantasy, like how your fantasy football league is set up. Like in my league, for instance, Kirk is great because of the way the points are set up for us. So he's like a great fantasy quarterback, and he was having an MVP level season, in my opinion, before he got injured with the Achilles this past year. But at the end of the day, he's 35 years old. He's only won one playoff game out of 6 years in Minnesota. And, you know, it was up to him. Like, do you want to take the hometown discount and stay and be a hero in Minnesota and try to win a Super Bowl and let us draft a new quarterback this year and help develop that quarterback over the next couple seasons? And then he knows he's on his way out, similar to how Green Bay does things with their quarterbacks, you know, going from Favre to Rodgers to Love. It was that same kind of process they did each time to replace their quarterbacks, and it's worked really well. Minnesota hasn't had that luxury, and we have not drafted good quarterbacks either historically, like especially early. Guys like Christian Ponder and Tavares Jackson and stuff just did not pan out at all for us. So like, it's one of those things where, without talking football the next, you know, hour here, I will say I was disappointed to lose Cousins, but it was a really, really, really easy decision for Minnesota to make, and a really easy decision, in my opinion, for the fan base to just understand and just roll with, because I think the Vikings would have maybe given him like a year, maybe a 2-year offer, and it would have been maybe like 30 million guaranteed, something like that. The Falcons gave him 4 years, $180 million, $100 million guaranteed for a guy who's coming off an Achilles injury, 35 years old, and has only won one playoff game ever. I mean, Kirk Cousins' agent is really the MVP in all of this. The fact that he keeps getting this guy this kind of money, he's going to end up being like the 4th highest paid player ever because of the guaranteed money he's been making his career. And once again, only one playoff win. So it's like, as a Vikings fan, I'm excited because we've already replaced Daniil Hunter. We've already got 2 new defensive ends. We got Aaron Jones, who got cut from the Packers, which Aaron Jones, that guy got totally screwed. He kept taking pay cuts with the Packers to keep making it work for them the last couple of seasons, and then they just cut him. So they totally screwed him. Harrison Smith with the Vikings, he's like my age, and he's been in the league a long time, and he took the pay cut just yesterday. He took a pay cut to stay with the Vikings, so he'll probably retire a Viking, and he can be a leader for our defense. Kirk didn't want to be that guy. Either did Adam Thielen a couple seasons ago. He wanted the money, and he wanted to catch more passes, but he also apparently didn't care about being the worst team in the league. Sorry, Jeremy. But, you know, it is what it is. It's football. It's business. I'm looking forward to seeing who the Vikings are smart to sign Sam Darnold as a bridge quarterback, because they're clearly going to move up in the draft, and they're going to draft the best quarterback they can. They'll probably move up to like number 5 or number 3 or something and draft a new quarterback that they hope are going to be able to start, if not week 1, by sometime this season. So that's all my football talk for y'all. Jeremy, do you have any free agency or any Panther stuff you want to add?
I'm afraid of Kirk Cousins in the NFC South. I think the Falcons are now the best team in the division because all they needed was a quarterback, and now they've got a quarterback. You know, him coming off ACL, we'll see how he responds. The Panthers are going to suck regardless. I've resigned to that. Their defense took a hit. The offense got a little bit better. We got some offensive linemen. We got Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. We'll see how that goes. New coach. We'll see. Panthers should be, I don't know, regulated based on their malpractice the last 2 years, honestly. Shout out for saying no one should ever be afraid of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is like good. I don't think he's, you know, we'll throw out the term elite, but Jensen has watched Kirk Cousins enough. Has he won a lot of playoff games? No, but he's certainly like been dependable and been stable in Minnesota. The Falcons have a lot of good playmakers around that team. They just didn't have the quarterback play to really do anything with it. Kirk Cousins is a dependable when he's healthy, but he's a good quarterback. So, and the Panthers aren't good, so it doesn't really matter anyway. It's not like it's like, oh, I'm really worried about the Falcons beating us for the division. I think the Falcons are better with Kirk Cousins. We're going to lose in the division anyway.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're getting out of Kirk. Like you know what you're going to get. The problem is that for Falcons fans to be so like, this is it, he's our savior, like this is the last piece of the puzzle. That's what we thought in Minnesota when we signed him for all that guaranteed money we gave him years ago. we were one quarterback away is what we thought too. We had Case Keenum and we made it all the way to the NFC Championship. And it was the year that the Minneapolis Miracle happened where Keenum hooked up with Diggs and they had that incredible play that got him into the NFC Championship game and all that stuff. And instead of continuing to roll with Keenum, who had a hot hand, like he was playing really, really well that season for us. And a lot of us, myself included, thought we should have just signed Keenum because he would have been cheap and he played really well for us and he knew the offense and he got us really far into the playoffs. And we wound up saying, see ya, Keenum. Sorry, it's just business. And we wound up signing Kirk for a ton of money. And that's what we thought it was that we were just one Kirk Cousins away from the Super Bowl. In the last 6 years, we won one playoff game with the guy. So it's like, even though I'm a huge Kirk fan, I really am. Like I like him a lot as a person. I think he's a great quarterback, but the problem with him, and especially in like today's game, he's very one-dimensional. Like if things don't go his way, if he gets rushed, if the defenders get past the O-line, he just completely freaks out. And like he doesn't have the ability to like extend plays. He's very slow. Even though he can run occasionally, he's very slow. So he's one of those guys who it's like the game has changed so much. Like you want to be able to get like a CJ Stroud or like a Patrick Mahomes or like a Josh Allen or like you want to be able to find one of these new era guys who can run, who can pass, who's physical, who's really smart, who can extend plays. The game has just changed. But if they can protect Kirk and he can just stand back there and be protected, he'll probably play great for Atlanta. The guy who's going to really benefit probably is that running back Robinson, who they drafted last year, Atlanta, because that dude they'll be screening because Kirk is so afraid to make any decisions. He throws screens constantly. So like if Bijan can get open for screens, he'll have a humongous year probably because he'll just keep checking down to him when he gets flustered. So, but I as much as I love Kirk Cousins, I highly doubt he will win a Super Bowl in Atlanta, and they're going to give him a ton of money and huge expectations, but he's still the same Kirk Cousins. I mean, the guy hasn't. If the guy had won anything, I could understand it, but he hasn't, And last year he was looking great. He got hurt, but once again, you're coming off an Achilles injury at 35, and you got $100 million guaranteed. Like it is what it is. Good for the Falcons. I mean, but also I'm happy where the Vikings are at with this. Kirk left them with no choice. They had to move on after that, the kind of money he was asking for.
Dial for Film sends us a super chat. Says, since I missed last week's show, I must say thank you to Sting. What an amazing career. Because I'm a troll who sticks it to you guys. Undertaker, Sting, especially in 1997. Never forget that. Sting's always better than the Undertaker.
Yeah. I'm a thumbs up on that. Thumbs down on Kogan for Dial for Film. I like Dial for Film. Very, very good guy.
He's always supportive of the show. We appreciate it.
I will always ride or die though with Sting was better than the Undertaker, but I've also fought that battle many times too with Undertaker fans that completely disagree. But yeah, thank you, Sting. Absolutely, we talked about it a lot last week, but Sting's the man. So yeah, thank you for the super chat.
If you want more Sting, we have an interview with surfer son of Sting, Garrett Borden. He was on In the Weeds yesterday. That'll be cut up on Fight Flow. We're booked today, so that'll be up this afternoon. But you can watch yesterday's In the Weeds to check out the interview as well. All right, let's get into. We'll start with the new CEO.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Mercedes Mone is officially all elite, one of the worst kept secrets in wrestling, unless you are a, what's the word I'm looking for? A depressed WWE fan or a coping WWE fan that she was going to enter number 31 in the Rumble or make a surprise appearance at WrestleMania. We knew this was coming. We knew this was coming way back in January when Sean basically reported it. Andrew Zarian also reported it. We definitely knew it was coming about 6 weeks ago when they announced AEW Big Business. And finally, Big Business arrived last night. They started the show with a car pulling up, a Maybach. I thought it was Rick Ross. Kind of disappointed it wasn't Rick Ross, Maybach music. Instead, it was Mercedes Mone with her new theme song, the CEO Chants, Beethoven's Symphony, playing over it. She came out. She said she's all elite. She said she wants to be in AEW. She needs to be in AEW. She wants to take the revolution global. She said she can't wait to work with everyone in the locker room, especially Willow Nightingale, because that was her last match where she suffered the ankle injury last May. She's been on action that long, everybody. I mean, she said in an interview that, she thought it might be a career-ending injury. She was told it would be a career-ending injury. So it was obviously a pretty gnarly injury that she suffered with the ankle. And she said she's looking forward to, working with AEW and being the CEO. And then at the end of the show, Willow defeated Riho in the main event. Willow got attacked by Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Mercedes came out, made the save, ran off Sky Blue, or she hit Julia with the money maker, the Mone maker. And then Willow raised her hand, and Mercedes, did a little dance at the end. I can't do it, but she did all that in the end. What did you make of the debut of Mercedes Moné?
Well, the first thing, and this is somewhat of a criticism, but it's not that big of a deal, obviously, honestly.
Don't get the crew mad at you, Jensen.
No. This is actually this is really more support, honestly, than anything towards Mercedes. I don't know why they didn't just announce ahead of time that she was going to be on the show. It was so clear, we knew obviously, but I would advertise this. It was so clear. They pretty much did without, they
did the CM Punk thing. They weren't as heavy-handed with the references all throughout the weeks on TV. Nobody's wearing, a Boss Time shirt or anything like Kenny was. But they said enough without saying it.
Yeah. I just think that it would have been smart to announce it ahead of time, because then you could have also had even all the WWE loyal, the people that hate AEW even but love Mercedes Moné, at least they would have seen hey,
I think anyone who loves Mercedes Moné knew she was showing up.
You're right.
The crew knows.
You're right. I guess it's kind of a nitpick. It's not that big of a deal really at the end of the day, but I just feel like it was so obviously gonna be her, and they named the show really after her with the dollar signs and the S's and all that stuff. I don't know why they didn't just announce ahead of time, because it wasn't even a surprise. You know what I mean? It's different because everyone's expecting it to be her. CM Punk was a little different because it was obvious. It was so obvious it was him. We also hadn't seen him on a wrestling show in almost a decade or 7 years or whatever it was, almost a decade. So it's that was just a different type of thing altogether. But it's similar in certain ways. Anyway, I'll move on from that. That was the one criticism I had, was I don't know why they didn't just advertise this ahead of time. I think it would have been smart. But outside of that, I got pretty much what I expected. How do you feel about the theme song?
See, I like the dun 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 money. I like that song. Yeah. It's very catchy. I understand the point of this song. You got the CEO chants in there. By the second time I heard it, at the end of the night, I was like, all right, I'm okay with this. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I think it's all right. I like the other one better though. The money.
Yeah, see, that one to me is just so catchy yeah, I really like that song. And we didn't get to hear it enough because, she only wrestled a handful of matches last year before she got injured. But the CEO chant, because Mercedes or money, those are kind of iffy chants. The CEO chant, that's a very, very easy chant. So getting the crowd to basically chant that right off the bat, and she's obviously she's super into it when the crowd is chanting it, and she's able to time her dances to the chant. It works.
Yeah, and it's similar to Osprey's song. Everyone Osprey. You can tell they want to get you want to have something like that the fans can really be a part of.
Wrestling fans love call and response. They love it.
Yes. You're 1,000,000% right about that. That's a lot of what pro wrestling is, honestly. Is some level of call and response constantly, whether it's through that or in the ring, listening to the crowd, responding by changing your moves up or making little, calling different things throughout the matches. So, but yeah, no, it's one of those things where obviously we all expected it to be her. It was her. She got a great response. It was great to see her. She had a good segment at the beginning of the show talking about basically how she needs to be in AEW, because AEW is the place to be if you want to be the best wrestler. And she has a whole roster of people she can't wait to tear it up with. She gave tribute to Eddie Guerrero, as she always does. She talked about her history in Boston and wrestling in Boston and main eventing in Boston. And then at the end of the show, like, she came out for the save and got another big pop, and her and Willow next to each other with their little bit of history that they've got. And so it's pretty clear they're going to build like the whole women's side of their roster, like, around Mercedes right now. I think it's pretty obvious, and they should. She's like one of the most famous wrestlers in the world. She's still great. I say it, great in the ring. Unless something has drastically changed since last May when she got hurt, like, she's going to be one of the best in-ring workers they have too, on a roster full of great in-ring workers. So, and she's a legitimate. That's like, it's a real big time signing for them. She's a I don't like to use the word superstar that much in wrestling, because of, the WWE has their wrestlers superstars, but like, she is an actual superstar in the world of wrestling. So this is a big get for AEW. And another, people, one of the only knocks that you kind of consistently hear on AEW is the booking of the women. It's kind of always been like a theme in a conversation since the beginning of AEW.
That's a lazy knock nowadays.
But, no, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, you can't even not, like, when you have Mercedes, and it's like, what are you going to really say? Like, you have her, and then the rest of the women that were already there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't. How else more can you say you have a legitimate division than Mercedes is a sign now? So like, so yeah, I mean, what more can I really say? Do you have any more? What do you want to add to that? Like, what do you think about the debut and everything? Because I mean, I feel like we got kind of a little taste, but it was also kind of what I expected her to do on her first night.
I thought it was about as well as you could do it if you weren't going to have her wrestle. I thought opening the show was the right call. I said it. I said you should CM Punk this debut, because they made Punk's return like the biggest deal in wrestling. And that's, what they tried to do with this. A little different, because she's only been gone less than a year. Punk was gone 7 years, but the treatment was the same. Came out, got the big entrance, gave a mission statement promo. Promo was good for what it was. She wasn't setting up. She didn't really have anyone to dig into, like, for a feud or anything. But it set up that who she was, what her goals were. Being in Boston obviously is a big thing. Being in her hometown, it was a good mission statement promo. I liked that she's like, women are main eventing tonight. Like, to me, that told me that, okay, this is a big deal. And not that, like, she personally has this pull to, like, make it the main event, but you're telling your audience, like, her arrival is a shift in how the division is going to be. Because when you looked at that card last night, you didn't think Willow and Riho was the main event. You figured it was probably going to be Joe and Wardlow, because that's for the AEW World Title. Maybe the Elite, because it's the Elite. But her saying, like, Willow and Riho main event, it's like, okay, this arrival is a little bit different. And then she got to close the show as well, which I thought was good. She mentioned Willow and the injury and how they might have a little unfinished business, but Willow's a babyface, so you're not going to, like, fully go heel on Willow, and you don't want to heel Mercedes, at least right now. Maybe that comes down the line. And then the closing part at the end, she helps Willow, maybe sets up a match against Julia, although I think Willow and Julia will probably be a match first, but then they could go Julia and Mercedes at the pay-per-view if they do Willow and Julia on television. I thought it is, for what they could do if she wasn't going to wrestle, that was about the best debut they could do. I just mentioned how I think criticisms of the women's division is a little kind of tired and lazy, because their booking of the women's division has been a lot better for really a few months now. We're getting 2 women's matches on most collisions. There's been a focus with Tony and Deanna and that storyline. There's been a focus. I know Julia's kind of been off television, but there's been the side story with Chris and Willow. Chris wasn't there last night to make the save. People pointed that out. I think it was a medical clearance. Chris Statlander did a exclusive. She got attacked backstage. That is what they're going with. She got attacked backstage, and that's why she didn't, like, come out to make the save. So they're putting some effort into a lot more of the women's storylines instead of like, here's just kind of random one-off match. Now you got Mercedes. Now the bar is raised with that. The expectation is going to be higher with her there. We got hopefully Jamie Hayter coming back soon. We got hopefully Britt's cleared as far as, what's been said. She's doing media rounds.
No. I just mean, like, I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Like, what's taking so long if she's ready to go? Like, why she hadn't been involved?
Yeah, I would assume that they're just kind of waiting for something for her to do where they're going to insert her. Thunder Rosa's been back. I think they've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on her return. Like, this is the former women's champion. I know the landscape has changed from the time she got injured to the time she returned, but you should still kind of make a little bit of a deal out of the fact that she never lost this title, and she should make a deal out of the fact that she never lost this title. But she's in the mix still. Like, the roster is there. Mercedes is going to elevate the roster. She's going to bring a standard to the roster, to the booking that now they got to uphold. They certainly got the television time to do it, and I think they've done a lot better job over the last few months. But now the standard is going to be different, and you've got to continue to meet that standard or surpass that standard.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you even mentioned Serena Deeb, but like her being back.
She was back. It was weird that they dropped that whole thing because it looked like they were maybe setting up a Serena Mercedes match because Serena's calling herself the final boss.
Right.
And then she was off television for a week, and then Mercedes debuted, and I don't know what's going on with Serena.
Yeah, me either. And I like Serena a lot. Like, Serena and Thunder Rosa, I think, were really, really important towards like kind of the beginning when AEW was really starting to get cooking. So yeah, but they got a good roster now. The Britt Baker thing is confusing. It's very confusing to me. She went from she was like one of the most over people on the whole roster, and they were really treating her like that. And I don't know. I don't want to even like speculate because I have no idea, but it could really be just something as simple as they're trying to just figure out the best creative, for her to come back or whatever. But like, it's just weird to me. I don't know how long she's been cleared for, but if she's been cleared for a little while and it's down to like, we don't know what to do with you, that's really weird to me, considering where she was in the company before. Especially with like Adam Cole. And like that whole group. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what she said was, she wanted to take a step back because fans were getting a little tired of her. And she said that she wanted to take a step back and kind of make fans miss her a little bit. That's been September. She hasn't wrestled since September. And, hopefully she'll come back at some point. I assume Chi-Town Spurs is talking about Britt here.
Probably, yeah.
Did y'all watch her matches? Look, her matches are fine. There is a new standard though in the division where you got to be a little bit better than fine.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. I don't think she's at the same level in the ring as some of the other women we're talking about. I would agree with that. My thing is more so like how over she was, and being like a day one, kind of like a women's pillar almost, like for the company, and that they just like, I don't think that she's not being used because of like her in-ring performances, if that makes sense, because she was getting massively pushed before that. The blood and guts match, or what are they? Was it blood and guts match? Not a blood and guts match. They made it blood and
lights
guts
out.
Lights out. They made a blood and guts toy figure set of the two of them from that match. That's why I got confused. But that match was incredible. Like, so she has some good ones. But I get it though. Like, I get it as far as like, I don't think she was on the same level in the ring as a lot of these women we're talking about. And maybe she did just need a break, like Chi-Town Spurs is saying. Like, maybe that's all it is. But, because even if she's not like super great in the ring, you can still find things to do with her on the show because she's so over. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not using her at all. That's the strange thing to me, because you can do stuff with her that doesn't involve her being in the ring every single week too. That keeps her involved and keeps her a big part of the show if she's still over, So, and she's got that link with Adam Cole I keep going back to. But I also think that Undisputed Kingdom is lame as hell. So it's like, maybe it's a good thing she's not involved in that,
They don't like mixing the men and the women in the stables. We had this conversation on ITW yesterday Like they don't really do it. House of Black is the exception, not the rule. And even that sometimes feels like not fully together. Sometimes Julia's there, sometimes Julia is not there for the promos and the matches. She's kind of doing her own thing. Sometimes like they're rarely on Dynamite and she's on Dynamite. It's the mix isn't always there. Otherwise, they don't really mix the men and the women in the groups.
Not too much. Like they had Statlander was like part of Best Friends, but they weren't like on TV that often and stuff.
I know people say Jericho Appreciates Society and like Anna Jay, but like, okay, what did that do? Like, I understand you're giving me examples. None of these groups are really pushed, and the women don't really shine in any of these groups. These aren't examples that I'd be going with of like, hey, this is like they do a good job with this. All these examples are just proving my point. Is they're not really, they don't do anything with these groups. They're not high profile groups where men and the women are mixed together.
For people to know what Jeremy's talking about, in the chat right now, we were getting like Jericho Appreciation Society, Butcher and Blade and Bunny, Dark Order, Infantry. Infantry is still pretty early on, though. I think they could do something with Trish Adora and the Infantry. They're all of them are really talented, but they're also on Ring of Honor, so like you don't see them too much. Although the Infantry did just make a collision appearance. I don't know. Regardless, I'm just the Britt Baker thing is a little strange to me, but good for Mercedes. I'm glad that she's finally. And I didn't realize it's already been 2 years since she left the WWE.
May of 2 years ago. Yeah. So,
time really flies because I still was feeling like it was within like the last year, but then when you really think about it and her doing the stuff that she did after WWE between then and now, like it makes sense. The only other thing about Mercedes I'm like confused about is like the CEO song seemed like that sounds cool. It's catchy. I get it. And even the other song was even catchier, like we were just talking about. But maybe there's more to this. Is Snoop Dogg back with like WWE where he can't do the AEW stuff? Because you would figure that like he'd be doing her music,
I mean, I don't know if like Snoop Dogg can do whatever the hell he wants. Honestly, I don't think there's any like, no, Snoop can't do this song for her. I think she kind of just wants to do her own song. She did her own song when she did the Dun 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 Money song. So
yeah,
I don't think that it has anything to do with Snoop. I just think it has more to do with the fact that she just wants to do her own thing and wants her own twist. And Mikey Ruckus is, handles all the in-house music over there.
Yeah, and I like Ruckus. Nothing against him. I just feel like it's kind of like a perfect opportunity to like, if you can get like a really cool like Snoop Dogg kind of inclusion in this and like you might get like a mainstream song out of it too. Like it only increase your popularity if people outside of wrestling were listening to the Mercedes Mone theme song. Like it was just like a cool song. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Just something to think about. I guess I'm just. You'd think with like because they're related and all, like, and they did some stuff on WWE together, and Snoop Dogg loves wrestling and he's been involved in WWE and AEW. I just kind of felt like kind of surprised Snoop Dogg isn't involved in some way, shape, or form with the presentation of Mercedes. But that's also once again, that's just nitpicking. I'm just like throwing out, just like kind of just came to mind,
Yeah, I don't know if she also just wants always to be like associated with Snoop Dogg. It's like, oh, okay, it's Mercedes. Obviously, Snoop Dogg is involved. Like some people just want to do their own thing.
No, that's understandable. Like I honestly don't even think about Snoop Dogg at all when I think about Mercedes outside of like when the theme song. I'm just like, I don't know. I just felt like, I mean, if you were ever, if it made any sense at all, I would think that would be it. Not in the WWE. Anyway,
Will Chisholm says you're talking about how Rhea is booking the Judgment Day where she's the leader. That's what you meant. I mean, we're talking about AEW groups. Like, yeah, WWE does that with Rhea and Judgment Day. But where we're kind of focusing on the AEW stuff, they don't do the men and the women mixing a lot, and they certainly don't really put the women on the level that WWE does with Rhea and Judgment Day. Like that's never happened in these groups.
Yeah, well, Rhea's. To Will's point, though, yeah, Rhea's killing it as the leader of Judgment Day. There, or I guess I don't know if she's technically the leader of the group, but she comes across like she's in charge.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan of what she's doing for sure.
What would your first match for Mercedes be? I assume the first match will be at Dynasty. What would you have it be?
Maybe her versus like Sky Blue or something, or I don't. Well, maybe I don't know if that's like a Dynasty. I'm just trying to think based on last night, because like if they're gonna do, they kind of teased last night as what her immediate future is gonna be. You would do Willow and Julia Hart, and maybe Sky Blue and Mercedes, just as like a introduction to Mercedes. You can get all our shit in, you know what I mean? So maybe something like that. I mean, I'd really like to see her versus Julia or her versus Willow. I think those would be really good matches, and they'd be a little bit bigger matches. But the debut of Mercedes is going to like kind of sell itself. Like, it doesn't really matter who she's wrestling. People just want to see her back in the ring. So I don't know. There's a few different ways they can go with this. But honestly, the first thing I thought of last night was her and Willow. That was the first thing my mind went to. But then at the end of the show, I was like, I wouldn't really... There's no need to like turn either of them. And like, there's two people that they could wrestle right there across the ring from them pretty much last night that are both good wrestlers, So I don't know. Who do you think they're going to go with for the first match?
I think a tag team match isn't out of the question. And then Statlander is, not medically cleared. And so she can't be involved in the match. But then afterwards, Statlander goes after Mercedes to set up Statlander and Mercedes. And maybe Willow gets the victory like over Julia in the tag team match. And then that leads to Willow and Julia. Willow can win the TBS title. You can do Statlander, Mercedes. And then you got those two feuds going on. You still have the stuff going on with the women's world title picture. Like, now you're getting 3-4 feuds, 2 of which aren't for the title. So I think that could be, that's good stuff on the women's side.
Yeah, I think that Statlander turning heel is probably going to happen, and it probably should. I think that's a good idea. And her versus Statlander versus Mercedes would be a really good match. That's something I'm definitely down for. Ace Shock mentioned that Punk and Darby, when they wrestled at All In, they were both baby faces, and that's true. And I'm not saying that like this can't be the same thing where they could do like Willow and I keep wanting to call her Sasha. I'm gonna have to get over that. Pat Mercedes. You could do that. I'm not saying like that's impossible or like that they won't do that. They kind of, once again, the little bit of difference with the Punk return was we hadn't seen Punk in so long in a wrestling ring, 7 years or whatever. And the story there was really like Punk being like, I haven't been involved in so long and I've been keeping an eye out. And if I was a kid, my favorite wrestler right now would be Darby Allin. So when I'm getting back into wrestling, I want to wrestle who I think my favorite wrestler would have been. And that was kind of, and we also didn't know what CM Punk's return was going to look like. Was it going to be one match? Was it going to be like a part-time thing? We had no idea what it was really going to look like when he actually signed with AEW. So that's where it's a little bit different to me, is like, if you only got one CM Punk match, CM Punk wanted to wrestle his favorite wrestler, and like, maybe that was going to be it. Because we also didn't know what CM Punk was going to look like in the ring after all that time too, especially after the UFC run. Like, who knows what he was going to look like? He wound up doing great for AEW. Like, as much as stuff I've said about CM Punk over the years, his actual on-screen his actual on-screen AEW run was phenomenal. And a big part of that was the introduction against Darby. So I'm not against the idea of Willow and Mercedes, face versus face. I think it is possible, but I also think it just kind of makes more sense if it's her going against a heel, going against Sky Blue or against Julia or something. So
yeah, I like what Jeff Valley Driver said. I'd build the Willow feud slowly. That's why I think the tag team match first, and then a feud with Statlander, and then maybe you get to the Willow match. You hopefully have time. Hopefully she stays healthy, and that's been the knock on her throughout her career. This ankle injury aside, like she was banged up in WWE. She wrestles at a high pace. She goes very hard. Sometimes freak accidents happen. I don't know how she's going to look coming off the ankle injury either. It's been since May. Again, she was told that it was career ending. So it was a pretty serious injury, that ankle injury. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to almost ease her back in with a tag team match in her first match to just sort of really test things out and see how she's doing. You know, when every time she's been in the ring, for my money, she's the best American female wrestler. I'm not up enough on the Joshi wrestling to compare her to a lot of those women, but to compare her to anybody else I've seen in America, I don't think anybody is better than her. So, you know, I hope she's still at that level, and I'm sure she still wants to be at that level. She doesn't want to, you know, come back and not be, you know, even 90%, 95% of what she was. So I think a tag team match will be fine, and I'm okay with babyface. I think you got to certainly, to start, you got to babyface Mercedes because fans want to cheer her. You certainly had to babyface her last night in her hometown. Nobody's going to boo her last night. You just did the Okada debut where people thought you might get him as a babyface and they turned him heel because you had Ospreay who was a babyface. So you're gonna go with a babyface Mercedes, at least for right now. And then we'll see, you know, moving forward months down the line if she might turn into a heel. But she can even feud with other babyfaces, kind of have heel tendencies, sort of the Punk stuff. People love Eddie Kingston. Punk was kind of healing Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston was kind of healing Punk. The Hangman and Punk feud, they're kind of healing each other. Like they're not afraid to do that kind of stuff. I sometimes complain about that. I like the divide because you don't want to always divide your fan base like that. You want to have clear cut heels and baby faces. But this is the AEW style, so they're gonna do it as in the women's division as well, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. And I'm as a fan of AEW, like I just want to see the best matches. So I really don't care. Like, because imagine if we would have if the whole wrestling world would have just complained about something like something like Takeshita versus Ospreay. You know, there was little criticisms going into it where it's like they're on the same team. This makes no sense. Why would Don Callis ever this? Doesn't make, realistically speaking, it makes no sense why Don Callis would actually want the two of them wrestling one another, potentially injuring one another. Why would they want to really go at it to the point of possibly hurting themselves because they're teammates and all this? It just didn't make sense. But if we would have all collectively just rejected that and everyone went to the internet and everybody went on social media and everybody got all freaked out about it and AEW doesn't know what they're doing. They need to change this. This isn't good. This makes no sense. We shouldn't see this. And then Tony Khan actually listens and goes, okay, well, I mean, you guys don't want Takeshita versus Ospreay. Then they change the match and we never get that match. You know what I mean? Because I don't care at the end of the day. That match was awesome. I don't care if both guys are good guys, bad guys, whatever. That's an incredible wrestling match between two incredible professional wrestlers. And I'm really glad we got to see it. So I really don't care what the circumstances were, but that's just me. There are plenty of wrestling fans that can't overlook that are very, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but they like what they like out of wrestling and they want to see a good guy versus a bad guy, no matter what. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense to them why they're doing it. I get that too. I understand it, but my mindset once again is just, I want to see the best matches. So if it's Mercedes against a babyface, then great. If it's versus a heel, great. But I just want to see great matches.
I understand that sentiment. I get it. And it works for certain circumstances. I think other circumstances they can parse it out a little bit better.
Right. Well, the thing is, it's always going to work for me because I'm not the type to complain about it because I'm getting what I want out of the shows because I'm seeing the best matches. And we're also living in this time where we need to not take this time for granted, not just with AEW, but with all wrestling right now. The amount of dream matches and stuff that we're getting, the fact that we're in a real life timeline right now where Will Ospreay and Okada are both signed to AEW, where Mercedes is signed to AEW, where you have all these dream matches right in front of you with just those three alone. When you go to WWE and you see how stacked their main event scene is right now with Cody and Drew and Roman and Gunther and on the women's side, with Bianca and with Becky and with Rhea and with Io and Bayley and all these. This is a great time to be a wrestling fan. So just keep that in mind too. Even if you're man, babyface versus babyface, this doesn't make sense. It's 10 years from now when you look back and you're we got matches, like, you know, all the things we're about to see Okada do, all this stuff we're about to see Ospreay do. And so, I mean, it's just like, and like Danielson, like, I know you don't take Danielson for granted. You actually are the opposite of taking Danielson for granted. You are advocating for him to quit losing matches. And I understand that too. But once again, that's another thing too. We kind of like, I've seen a lot of WWE fanboys turn on Bryan Danielson over the years because he's in AEW. And no, I know, but I'm like, you guys need to, like, I get it. You love AEW, you love WWE, you hate AEW, but like, appreciate the time we have with some of these performers. Some of these are generational talents that we're seeing right now, still doing their thing at a super high level. So we should just, I think, really enjoy what Tony Khan, what the WWE, what AEW, what all these companies are giving us right now, because it's like, it's really a special time, especially when we look back at this years from now. I think people are going to really feel like we took a lot of this for granted because we just got so used to seeing, because these are things, dude, like 5 years ago, before AEW even like existed, these are matches that seemed completely impossible, and we're getting them on like a weekly basis.
Bryan Danielson should win more, by the way. It's cowardly.
No, I agree. No, I agree. He should. He absolutely should. Like he shouldn't lose as often as he does. It's okay for him to lose occasionally, but I don't agree with, you know, I know he did an interview recently talking about like, he doesn't, you know, he feels like the way he's doing this is really helping put over the younger talent better. He is wrong about that, honestly, because the way to put over young talent even better would be if Danielson was the Continental Champion or was the International Champion or was the World Champion, then someone beat him for that. That's way bigger than just beating Danielson in a regular match. I think that's probably where your head would be at with that also. I think we're both on the same page with that. And I love Danielson. I'm not a Danielson fan to the level that you are, where he is your absolute GOAT of professional wrestling, but I think he's way up there. And I don't disagree that he could be the best of all time. And because of that, he should be winning more often. I completely agree. We definitely shouldn't be of the mindset of like, we see Danielson and we think he's going to lose so often. Like it should be the case.
He's wrong because look at what has happened in the people he has mentioned. He's like, oh, MJF became a bigger star. Okay. Who did MJF drop the title to? Samoa Joe. Oh, Hangman Page became a bigger star. Okay. Who did Hangman Page drop the title to?
Right.
CM Punk. Oh, Eddie Kingston. Let me put him over. Okay. Who's Eddie Kingston probably going to lose the title to? Okada.
Right.
Like, it's not like they are going on and then putting over another young talent to, carry the mantle off of this. Do they become bigger stars because they hold the title? Sure. But again, they're losing the title to well-established people. Sometimes, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. Sometimes being the centerpiece means holding the title and getting people to tune in to watch you wrestle and seeing other people wrestle. Not losing to these people and putting them over because you think that's how bigger stars are created. And I will continue to use Sting as the example. Sting never lost. Sting put over everybody he was in the ring with. Everybody felt like a bigger deal because they were in the ring with Sting, even though they lost to Sting. Now, did the booking for some of these people always lift them afterwards? No, that's not his fault. Everyone felt like a bigger deal because they wrestled Sting. So everybody can feel like a bigger deal when they wrestle Danielson, and he can still beat them. And he can hold the title. So people are like, oh shit, Bryan Danielson's the champion over here. You know what? Let me tune in. And then let me see all of these other guys. Instead of, that's all that stuff we got with MJF last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like you said last week, even Darby never beat Sting one-on-one, but never needed to. He still got the massive rub just by teaming with him for those 30 matches. So I agree with you 100%. I don't know if there was any other AEW topics you wanted to go over or not before we moved on, or if there's anything else you had about Mercedes.
No, did you want to talk about Darby being taken out and the great end of the gang bang scissor gang?
Yeah, I did want to bring that up as one quick AEW topic, mainly because, I understand Jay White it's crazy that was Jay White's first singles match of 2024, by the way, that we're in the middle of March. But, I thought it was a great match. And I mean, Darby went through hell, and obviously he went through extreme hell, during Revolution, and he's still very much selling the effects of that match. And I get all that. But yeah, the main reason I wanted to bring it up as a topic was because obviously Darby is being written off after, you know, the beatdown he took last night, and he's off to climb Everest. So, you know, thoughts are with him. I hope that all goes well. And I was also worried during his match. He took some bumps during the match where I was like, if he like broke his leg or something right before this trip, like he'd still go, like he'd still do it probably.
He's an insane person.
Yeah, he's just a completely different type of human being. Like he's almost like a different species from what I am. I mean, just his mindset is just completely different than mine in so many ways. But that's also like, I could only imagine the kind of backstage conversations between himself and like John Moxley and those kind of people. Like they're probably just such interesting, weird conversations you would never ever hear otherwise. Like, but I wanted to bring it up because, you know, Darby, I don't know the next time we'll see him, but if that was it for him, if something catastrophic happens and we never see him again, this was a legendary run he had in AEW. Obviously, I don't want to put that kind of like bad vibes out there. I hope he's doing something really risky. When he comes back, I think you need to push him towards the AEW championship. He's got to come back. He's got to get revenge on Jay White, and then go on to the world title, in my opinion, and win the world title at some point. You know, he's got history with Samoa Joe. It would make sense. He's got history with Swerve. That would make sense. So like, you can get Darby in that main event picture and make the stories make sense and get him that world championship at some time in the near future, in my opinion. Especially like Darby versus Ospreay for the title at some point. I mean, we got so many just crazy dream matches that are about to probably happen. And then, yeah, the Bang Bang Scissor Gang broke up. We all expected that. I mean, it was really weird how they like went from baby faces to heels like so quickly, like in like the promos. You know what I mean? They did like the pay-per-view. Then the next thing we know, they're cutting heel promos, and then it's like, well, obviously they're going to turn, and then they turned. So, that just is what it is. I mean, that was really predictable, but you know, I'd be lying if I said I was invested at all in the Bang Bang Scissor Gang in really any way, shape, or form. So
I love Jay White. I like the Guns. I think they're good. I really like Anthony Bowens. I like what Billy Gunn does at this stage of his career. Max Caster has completely turned me off to everything he does. I would like an Anthony Bowen singles push. I never got the point of why these two groups were uniting. You knew it was just going to be a pretty quick turn. They didn't really do anything when they were together. I thought hopefully it leads to a unification of these 6-man titles, because no one cares about the Trios championships. No one cares about the ROH 6-man titles. I don't know why you need 2 sets of these things. It's just, yeah. I would like an Anthony Bowen singles push, and I would like a Jay White singles push. I think the Guns are very useful as a tag team, by the way. I assume they're going to be in this tag team tournament. I think they're very good as a tag team. And I would like kind of them to not do trio stuff, because I want a Jay White singles push, and I want a Guns tag team push. And by push, I mean just like, you know, featured having matches, not necessarily make them the world champion or anything like that, but I want them in some featured matches.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Darby, I do agree with you, by the way. Once Darby gets back, like, he's got to be at the top of your card. I don't know when he will be back from this. I think it takes like an entire month to do it. So it'll probably be gone like all of April. They got some people waiting though. Like Swerve's probably up next. And then you got Ospreay probably after that. And then, you know, we're probably looking at Darby.
Yeah. They gotta push Darby massively. Like I said, I really think Darby should be the AEW World Champion. It's a good problem to have for AEW, but like they got some big decisions to make of how they're going to do all this, because Samoa Joe's been a great champion. Swerve's time is clearly right now. Also, Will Ospreay needs to win that championship, probably at Wembley or around Wembley, and then Darby needs that also. So I mean, but it's going to make for some damn good matches and storylines, in my opinion.
Real quickly in the chat, Jeff Ellie Driver and A-Shock were kind of asking about Punk said he didn't want to win the title. Yeah, Dax said that Punk said he never wanted to win the title. You know, maybe that kind of changed once it was Hangman and once it was once everything happened with Hangman. But Dax did say, like, yeah, Punk never wanted to win the title.
I believe him and I don't. I mean, I could see CM Punk not wanting the title, but I could also see him wanting it. I could see both. That I could see either of those scenarios being true, but I won't discredit that either. Like I think it's possible CM Punk never wanted that championship.
I think it's possible. I think once it was booked, like once the match was booked, I think it was gonna be his to win, because I also think we've seen it with Danielson, right? If CM Punk wanted to say, hey, don't put this title on me, Tony Khan probably would have been like, okay, I won't put the title on you. Because Danielson literally says this every single match he's in, like, hey, I don't want to win. And Tony Khan's like, okay, you don't have to win then. I think once it was booked and Tony said, you're going to win, Punk could have refused it. He could have turned it down. And Tony Khan would have gone with that, because the history has shown he will listen to these guys that he has a high respect for. And Punk didn't turn it down. So I do think that once it was out there, Punk was like, all right, fine, I'll win. And I'm not going to say no.
Well, and to be fair, like in hindsight, it wound up creating a gigantic mess in like a lot of ways, because that also is like the catalyst for the Hangman workers' rights thing and the everything that wound up happening after. But like storyline wise on the screen, without the benefit of hindsight, in my opinion, it was the right move to put the title on CM Punk when they did. You know what I mean? So I think Tony Khan was right to book him as the world champion when they did it. It's just the aftermath and things, and like it just, who could have ever predicted things would have went the way that they did? I mean, I kind of did a little bit, but I didn't expect it to get that bad to where he got fired and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I could see a scenario where CM Punk maybe didn't want the title, and then Tony Khan was like, listen, we waited for years to get you. The fans want it. Like, you're the biggest merch seller. You're popping our ratings. Like, you should be the face of this thing. You should have the championship. And I agree with all those things at the time. My opinion has changed drastically, but that also, once again, is because of the benefit of hindsight. At the time, it made sense to put the title on CM Punk.
I think it was the right call to book the match. I think Punk winning when he did made sense. Yeah, you couldn't have predicted that they were going to have the promos they did. The match was going to go how it went, and then Punk was going to get hurt and everything after that.
Right. So
Tommy Maynard sends a super chat, says best show on Fightful. We appreciate you, Tommy. Tommy's always here hanging out. We appreciate you. All right, let's get into Cody crying.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Cody Rhodes cried on Raw. Go ahead.
Okay, so I loved this promo on Raw. He did a good job explaining what I try to explain every week. This is so much bigger than Cody at this point. This whole finishing the story thing. This is, without going super deep into the history here, because people have heard me talk about Cody pretty much every week since we started doing this show, especially around WrestleMania time. I mean, I got emotional watching the interview, because I got to see a lot of this stuff when I was younger, and getting to see, I've been sharing clips recently of Cody's high school wrestling career. Also, I found some old VHS tapes and actually went and bought a VHS player, a VCR. Geez, that's how old I'm getting. I'm forgetting the name of this stuff. I went and bought a VCR, and I've been uploading some clips, and Cody's actually been responding to some of them too, which has been pretty cool. So I'll put out some more of those, like heading into WrestleMania. I'll put some more clips out there, but I mean, that where this story is at, like, yes, a big part of it is Cody finishing the story for his for his own legacy, as far as like him as a pro wrestler. He's always wanted to be the WWF champion. The title was handed to his dad, but taken right away in Madison Square Garden. He always wanted to hand that thing to Dusty, but he can't because Dusty has passed away. but there's so many of us that, like, for me, I've been on this journey as a Cody fan for like 22 years, because I discovered Cody Rhodes in 2002 when we were both high school wrestlers. I followed this journey all the way through, and that's just me. There's all these other people that, whether it's, you know, Tiffany, who, once again, I left my wristband on my bed. I took it off when I went to sleep.
Wow, you took it off?
I have to take it. I can't sleep with stuff on me. Like I can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fake fan.
Yeah, right.
Fake fan. I never take this off. I never take off this.
I literally just checked my wrist. I was like, where is it?
Fake fan.
I wore it during the Riggs interview, so it's technically on this episode. But I literally took it off last night. I was gonna put it right here on my desk so I didn't forget it. And I was like, oh no, it'll be right next to me in bed. I'll just
wait till I tell Cody that you took off the wristband.
But anyway, so we got people like Tiffany who are like lifelong fans, or, you know, longtime fans. You got Gunner, longtime fan, Cody Collector, you know, the absolute man when it comes to the Cody collection. And these are just like big fans. But then you have like the other people, like, you know, the people that go in the crowd with the signs, the people that you know, are going through like hard things in their life, and Cody is somebody they look to, you know, the message of doing the work and, you know, being a part of the Nightmare family. And like, it's just so much bigger than just Cody winning the championship at this point. And the fact that he can still hand this title to his mother, he can still be around Teal and his family. I think one of the most emotional, one of the coolest pieces of media we'll probably get whenever Cody wins the title is, like, we'll get like a picture of Cody, like, with the championship, like at Dusty's grave probably. And it'll be like an iconic picture of like the title belt, like with Dusty. So like, I think, and then that's just the beginning. That's what people keep forgetting too, is like Cody finishing the story. It's like a quote that this guy's maybe not the best example, because he's been not maybe the best role model, but he's a very entertaining person. I've been familiar with Dr. Disrespect. That he's a YouTube streamer now. He used to be on Twitch. I've heard of him. But he's had some controversy and stuff. But he's a really good streamer, and he has this quote when he won this award years ago. It was something like, you know, we were all the way to the tippy top of the mountain. We made it to the tippy top of the mountain. Then we realized we're only halfway up. Meaning, you know, we take one step forward, or one step backwards, 2 steps forward, you know? And what I mean by that is, like, when Cody actually wins this championship, that story's finished. You know, Cody's a champion. But now it really starts, because now it's Cody defending the championship as the top good guy of the company. And he's only going to get bigger and better and more famous, and more people are going to get behind him, because now you're really the face of this thing. Now you're really the champion. Now you are, for all intents and purposes, you are the new John Cena for the kids and for the people who want to believe in a good guy in professional wrestling. So that's what I get out of a promo like what Cody cut. You know, it's for his family, it's for his longtime fans, it's for the people who have supported him, it's for the people that, you know, believed in Cody Rhodes back when he was with Bob Holly as a tag team, back when he was in Legacy, back when they were painting his face and as he says, he's Dusty's actual kid and he's dressed like an effing space clown. You know, it was for him quitting the company on my birthday on May 22nd, whatever year it was, 2017 or whatever. He quits the company, and he's never had an indie career, and you don't know what his career is going to look like. He goes on to the indies, becomes one of the biggest stars on the indies, Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, is the founder of AEW, helps create this company, goes back to WWE. Like, we're at the point where it's like, it's time for him to get that championship. It's time for him to be the guy he's always been destined to be. And yeah, I mean, what more can I really add to that outside of like just gushing over how much I love Cody Rhodes for the next hour? You know what I mean? Like, I got very emotional watching that speech. I think it came very much from the heart. It's very authentic what he's saying, and he basically said all the stuff that I keep saying week after week, and I'm even more convinced now than ever. Like, he is going to beat Roman Reigns night 2 of WrestleMania and win that championship.
I agree with Chi-Town Spurs. Didn't really feel the mana in this promo.
Is that
just a lot of tears? All right, we get it, dude. You're crying. And The Rock's right about him. He's a crybaby. Is that who you really want representing the company? A crybaby? Like, that's the guy we're going to make the face of the company? Crying Cody is the face of the company? That's a meme, Jensen. That's a meme to make fun of people.
like the
That's not who the face of the company should be.
No, okay. No, this is exactly the face of the company should be, because this is somebody who is somebody who's very, very authentic, and he's a good person. That's something that I'm very huge on with, like, when I talk about Cody and how if he was like this terrible human being, it'd be one thing. But it's like, I've talked about it before, but especially in today's time where we're getting all this stuff about our heroes being huge, just, I don't even know what the right words are. Look at what's going on with Vince. You know what I mean? Look at what's going on with the people around Vince. Look what's going on with some of our favorite wrestlers growing up and who they turned out to be. Some of these stuff these people say on social media that we used to look up to, and you find out they're like totally different human beings and all this stuff. You just never have to worry about that with Cody Rhodes. Like, this is just it's a non-issue, it's a non-factor, it's a non-concern. Like, he's a good human being. He stands for good morals. He's someone your kids can look up to. He's someone, if you're going through something, you can I'm not even joking when I talk about how when I did my job interviews for this promotion I recently got, I brought up both Cody Rhodes and CM Punk as examples of like someone I would want to be like as a coworker and someone I wouldn't want to be like as a coworker. And I literally explained the differences between those two guys to women who have no idea what I was talking about. Didn't know who either of these people were. How long have you been holding on to that for today? But yeah, these people didn't even know who either of these people were, and I fully explained them and sold them on Cody Rhodes winning the championship at WrestleMania. So, anyways, yeah, you can move that thing out of the way.
Look at this. This is the face of the company right there.
Yeah, that's the face of the next WWE champion. Steph maybe says Cody and authentic, quote unquote, aren't anywhere close. That's the whole reason he got turned on by AEW fans. No, he got turned on by AEW fans because they're a bunch of assholes. That's what happened. Like, and I'm an AEW fan. I'm a day one AEW fan. I left a New Year's party to watch the revealing of the AEW logo on BTE. I almost got an AEW tattoo when the company started. I'm glad I didn't do that now because I thought Cody was always going to be there. The problem is he is authentic, and the fans rejected him because they wanted to be a part of the show, and it was the cool thing to do. I went to many AEW shows when Cody was there, and he would get the Yabu pop often, which for people who don't know what that is, it's when you hear someone's music and everybody pops and they cheer because they actually do like him, then everyone looks around and realizes, oh, it's the cool thing to actually boo, and they change from cheering to booing. That's what was happening to Cody. And then you have a whole group of people that are just assholes, that are just, you know, that are smart, just super, super smarky. And that was their way of being a part of the show. Oh, Cody wants to be the good guy. We don't want the good guy. Well, look what's happening now. They are starving for a top babyface, and they had him. He's just doing the same exact thing over on WWE, and he's the biggest star in the world of wrestling now. So, I agree. I understand what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say, Steph, is like, but it didn't fit in great with what AEW was doing at the time too. Cody should have probably turned heel when he did, but the hilarious and ironic thing is he stuck to his guns. He didn't change anything about himself. He took that presentation that the AEW fans rejected, brought it to the WWE, and now he's the biggest babyface in wrestling. So,
it's a giant.
So who was wrong? You know,
it's a giant dork who cries on television.
Okay, I mean, if you want to just keep trolling me about that, you can keep saying that. I mean, at the end of the day, like, he's going to win the championship at WrestleMania, so I'm very. All
right, let me be honest about things. Let me stop trolling you, Jensen. Cody should win at WrestleMania. That promo on Monday kind of showed exactly why he should win at WrestleMania. He has a connection with the crowd that I'll never get because I'm not as invested in this stuff as other people are. I'm here for the chaos. I'm here for the memes. I'm here for the jokes and things like that. But people like Jensen and really a lot of Cody Rhodes fans, every Cody Rhodes fans, are super invested and super attached to Cody and the story and wanting it finished. And there is no stronger fan base in WWE right now than Cody Rhodes. And that promo and him being the face of the company, being the John Cena of the company, all of it ties together and is why he should win the title. Like he should win. I make no bones about that. I hope he does for the sake of you, for the sake of this show. Actually, for the sake of the show, it might be funnier if you lose the kid.
Last year's show, the last year's WrestleMania results show was probably our most watched show we've ever done, and it was me basically crying because Cody didn't win the championship. Yeah. So it's actually good for our show if he loses, I guess. But yeah.
So I think Cody should win. I think it is the best story. It's better. The Roman Reigns stuff is funny to me, but like, even I'm like, all right, Rock coming in has certainly turned it up for me. I'm like, okay, I like this. Rock's here, all his crackheads and meth heads. I'm all about that. But I do think Cody should win. I really do.
Yeah,
it'll be funnier if he loses.
No, he needs to win. And for people who are, I think a big part of the reason I'm so against, or I get so angry about the way Cody was treated in AEW is because the way that the fans turned on him, and anyone who's like who says that they're not a Cody Rhodes fan, but they're an AEW fan, let's just keep it real. AEW straight up does not exist without Cody Rhodes. Just straight up. This never happens. This company is not even here for us to even talk about if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes. So what are you talking about? How can anyone hate on this guy? He either created the company that you love, that's the competition against the WWE that you hate, or you love him because he's a part of the WWE and he's the biggest good guy in the, like, I don't understand how, but it's fans flip flopping. It just is what it is. Like it just happened to happen to my favorite wrestler. So I'm salty about it, but I think that wrestling fans are just way too fickle, and they need to understand what they're watching and what's really happening in front of them. And like, for the way that the AEW fans turned on Cody, I think was absolutely ridiculous. And I think for people who continue to hate on him that are AEW fans, it's completely ridiculous. Okay, hate on Cody all you want, but the company that you love literally would not exist if it wasn't for him.
I mean, other people were involved in the company existing. The company wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Tony Khan.
Yeah, but there's but without Cody going from AEW to the Indies, doing the stuff that he did, teaming up with the Young Bucks and Kenny, all the stuff the Elite did all over the world, the Dave Meltzer tweet never happens. Cody never accepts that challenge. All In never happens. Tony Khan never has something to invest in to begin with. AEW does not exist. It's straight up Cody. There's other factors, but if Cody doesn't do this, AEW doesn't exist, straight up. I mean, another wrestling company owned by Tony Khan might exist, but it wouldn't be All Elite Wrestling, and it wouldn't involve probably a lot of the people that founded the company. He might have invested in Impact. I mean, I don't know.
ROH.
Yeah, I mean, he might have done something like that. AEW definitely wouldn't exist.
I don't know.
I don't know. We can move on. What do you mean? I don't know. None of this existed. We waited for 20 years from the time WCW went out of business for any kind of competition. Oh, just coincidentally, all this happens for Cody. And like, oh yeah, he has nothing to do with it. Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying Cody had nothing to do with it, but let's not say this is the reason it all existed out there.
Listen, AEW can't exist without Tony Khan's money. I obviously understand that, but like, there wasn't a thing for Tony. Tony Khan invested in basically what happened at All In. And what happened at All In happened because Cody accepted a challenge from Dave Meltzer that was only a challenge that was even possible because of what Cody Rhodes and the Elite were doing for Ring of Honor for the rest of the wrestling world. If that stuff didn't happen, Cody has nothing to invest in. He would be just taking indie wrestlers and starting a company from scratch with, and once again, you wouldn't have the Elite name or tie-in. You wouldn't have those CEOs or the whatever you call EVPs. Sorry.
But Cody and the Bucks and Omega, all their contracts were up at the same time. So they could have still signed.
Yeah, to WWE.
Well, not if Tony
But once again, what would Tony be getting invested in? You think he was just going to go just sign Kenny and the Bucks out of nowhere?
Why wouldn't he just buy ROH?
Okay, I guess he could. I mean, he did. Look how that's going.
Yeah. And then put that on network television.
Don't think it works. Ring of Honor been around for a long time with very little buzz. Well, I shouldn't say very little buzz. I like Ring of Honor. I don't want to downplay Ring of Honor and their importance, but just putting Ring of Honor on TNT or TBS, that's different than a brand new company backed by Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, Jericho, everyone who got involved at the beginning, Moxley. Anyways, I know, and people, I get it. As people are saying, I'm glazing Cody. I get it. I might be a little extreme in these views, but I do stand by them. I do.
You're a true Cody fan, extreme in your views.
Yeah. All right, we can move on. We got a couple more topics before the interview. I gotta go to work in 10 minutes.
Do you want to briefly talk about Sami Zayn and Chad Gable and how Chad Gable, much like his hero Cody Rhodes, is a giant loser?
So, I think. Oh my god. I'll say this. I would rather see Chad Gable versus Gunther at WrestleMania than Sami Zayn. And I would rather, especially if Gunther's going to lose, I would rather see Gunther retain over Sami Zayn, personally. What are you laughing at so hard? Just me?
Oh, wife is sending me messages.
Oh, God. What's she saying? Send it to me. Send me these messages.
Oh, she's just yelling at me for trolling you so much.
Oh, she's okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, if anyone's gonna beat Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, especially at WrestleMania, I don't think it needs to be Sami Zayn. Like, Sami Zayn's already established. He main evented WrestleMania last year. I would use it to put over somebody new. Even though we've seen Gable go after the title multiple times, that would still be a huge win for him to get that thing. So I guess that's really all I can say about it. Is I would have personally I like Sami Zayn a lot, but I don't see any need for him to be the one to beat Gunther. And he's already been the Intercontinental Champion before and stuff. So I would go with someone totally new.
I'm not sold that Sami Zayn's winning this match, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think he should. I think it'll be a good match, but I think Gunther should win if they're going to do that one-on-one. Just, but I also think that if someone's going to win, then it should have been, of the choices available.
Why shouldn't Chad Gable be the face of the company? He's a big crybaby who talks about his family, and he's just as good as this Cody Rhodes in this role. Why can't they just replace Cody?
Getting messages from your wife.
Chad Gable.
Listen, I will say this. I think Chad Gable has been underutilized his entire WWE run. I think even with Alpha Academy, or not
What's
Alpha
the
Academy,
difference
American
between
Alpha.
Chad Gable and Cody Rhodes? They're both amateur wrestlers. Chad Gable's better than Cody. I don't know what their credentials actually are, but let's just assume.
Well, Gable went to the Olympics, so yeah.
All right, so there. Chad Gable's a better Olympic wrestler. He got saddled with a failed gimmick, Stardust and Shorty G. He's been handed a bunch of shit stuff that he's made the best out of. He can cry on camera. He has his family ringside. He likes to celebrate with his daughter and everything. When he loses, he keeps failing. All he's missing is a rubber chicken being thrown at him, and he's the same person as Cody Rhodes. This Cody Rhodes role is easy. They got Cody Rhodes at home. It's Chad Gable.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I actually agree with everything you're saying. I like Chad Gable a lot, and they have this other world championship that Seth Rollins is carrying around. I'd be fine with Chad Gable winning that thing. I no problem with it at all. I like Chad Gable, but not as much as I like Cody Rhodes.
I'm advocating for Chad Gable to beat Roman Reigns over Cody Rhodes. I don't think Cody Rhodes needs to do this. They want people crying on camera. They got plenty of these dorks in the locker room who can cry. Look at Chad. It's easy. The Cody Rhodes role is easy.
Do you want a response from me? I had nothing left to say, dude. I mean, this is insane.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Mance Warner and Effy had a strap match.
Yeah, so we got a few minutes left before I have to clock in for work.
Yeah.
Wrestling real quick. So yeah, GCW had 2 shows and JCW. GCW. now I can't keep it together. Okay, so GCW and JCW had some shows this weekend. GCW had 2 shows. JCW had 1 show. It was GCW, then JCW, then GCW. We had Ashes to Ashes on Friday night, and then So Much Fun on Saturday afternoon. GCW March Madness on Saturday night. You wanted to talk about Mance Warner and Effy mainly? Yeah. So they've had a feud that's been going on for a long time. They're longtime friends. For people who are familiar with the Second Gear crew, Mance Warner's been a part of that a long time. Effy's been a part of that too, and kind of like a fringe part of the group, like him and Al Patch, kind of in there as well. Lissy, of course, but the whole SGC has been involved in this story as well as their friends. So like Mander's involved, Mance and Effy, of course. Cash has been involved. Sawyer Rack, who in real life is with Manders, if people don't know, like they're together on the show and stuff and helping each other. The Garbage Daddies have been involved too as like friends of the SGC. So it's been a long time ongoing story between Mance and Effy after Mance turned on Effy, and Mance has kind of week by week been beating the friends of the SGC and other SGC members and attacking them with screwdrivers and stuff, making them bleed and suffer and all this stuff. And so Mance has had a total, massive heel turn, and also won the GCW Rumble match a couple months ago. So like he has a built-in title shot whenever he wants it. So Mance is technically like the de facto number 1 contender. And basically what I want to get at real quick, first when it comes to Effy and Mance, Effy beat Mance this past week, but this is all setting up, most likely it's setting up a big blow-off match at Spring Break is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But what I think even bigger picture, I've been saying this for a few weeks now, because it was really obvious that Joe Janela was going to be getting the title shot against Blake Christian, and that's official now. So it will be Blake Christian versus Joe Janela for the GCW Championship at Spring Break. Janela dropped the Extreme Championship to Maki Ito in a scramble match this past weekend as well. So Janela is titleless, and he is heading into this world title match at Spring Break. What I think is going to happen, even though it's kind of similar to how Blake Christian won the title from Masha Slamovich, I think what'll happen is at Spring Break, I think Joey Janela, well, let me backtrack. I think at Spring Break, Effy will beat Mance Warner. Like, I think Effy will beat Warner. That'll be the end of their feud. Effy and the SGC and their friends can all celebrate in the ring. They parade Effy around on his shoulders like he's Rudy, and this, Effy gets the win, and everyone feels good about it. And then at the end of the night, in the main event, Joe Janela defeats Blake Christian, become the champion. So we all think, similar to kind of Tommy Dreamer ECW, Janela finally wins the GCW championship, and then Mance Warner comes out just covered in blood after losing to Effy and beats Janela for the title. That's my long play prediction that I've had for this for a little while is Effy wins the feud with Mance, so he gets that big win there. Janela wins the championship from Blake, and then Mance, just covered in blood from the loss to Effy earlier, wins the championship at the end of the night. And then you have the built-in thing for later on where Effy could potentially win the GCW championship from Mance, like, a year from now or months down the line or something. So that's my predictions for kind of what's going on in GCW. And that also includes, of course, Effy and Mance and what they're got going on.
I like that. I really like that. I love the strap match from this past weekend, and then Mance got involved in the match the night after as well. And look, I like when independent companies do feuds that you can sink your teeth into, because too many times it's just a lot of like, here's this really cool match. And something with Mance and Effy has been building for a while from their friendship, and then the turn. And I think heel Mance is great. The crowd loves Effy. I like that. I like your idea of Joey winning the title and then Mance coming out and ruining everything off of that. I like all of this. I hope more people are paying attention to this kind of stuff on the independent scene, because I think Mance and Effy, they got a connection with the crowd that All they need to do is cry a little bit. And
okay. Okay. So, yes. And then just really quickly, I'll say, JCW March Madness, because it's two Z's at the end.
Two Z's for copyright purposes.
Yeah. But y'all should check that show out. It's free on the Game Changer Wrestling YouTube channel. They air all of the JCW events for free on their YouTube. Really good card. I'll just go through the results just really quick before we get out of here. We had Broski Jimmy over CPA. Jimmy Lloyd has officially embraced the whole Broski thing. He's actually using the underhanded tactics that he's learning from Matt Cardona and Steph DeLander. He's a real part of Deathmatch Royalty now, which has been fun to see the transformation.
This wasn't a JCW, sorry, but at the GCW show, Nick Wayne returned, and Nick Wayne's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, and by the way, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was really strange, because Nick Wayne came out and cut this whole promo of man, you're not the guy that I remember. You're brainwashed, man. What's going on with you? And then I'm just thinking, does nobody familiar with AEW and what
AEW is not canon in GCW.
No, not at all. So, but it was just funny because he's literally describing himself, what his character in AEW is going through to Jimmy Lloyd.
Do you think we get Christian in GCW? Could you imagine?
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be so awesome.
That would rule.
We had Brett Waters over David Goldie. We had Charlie Tiger over Mecca. The main event over Hunter Drake and Rico Gonzalez. Shout out to Hunter Drake and Rico Gonzalez. Those guys are Southeast guys, mainly out of Action and New South and stuff. And they've really been blowing up all over the place recently. Mr. Danger versus Teriyaki was sick. Both those guys were Atlanta guys. I think they were both trained by AR Fox as well. I know Teriyaki wasn't. I'm pretty sure Mr. Danger was. And both of them are absolutely killing it. Y'all got to go out your way to watch both those guys. But the JCW Championship match was fantastic as well. We had Masha Slamovich defend and retain her title over Marcus Mathers. And then the next day, Slamovich wrestled Blake Christian in a rematch because Blake actually defeated Masha for the GCW Championship. They had a rematch and Blake retained over Masha, which set up officially Janela versus Blake. So big weekend for GCW and JCW. And like I said, you got two GCW events, both available over on Triller TV Plus as a part of their package. So for their monthly, $8 a month or whatever it is now, you get both of those GCW shows. And then the JCW show is completely free on the GCW YouTube channel. So if you want to watch all these shows, it's for a total of $8, you can watch all three of those shows. And once again, the JCW one's free. So, yeah, I'm not endorsed or sponsored by not Fight anymore, to Triller TV to tell you guys to sign up. But I legitimately think you're missing out if you're a fan of indie wrestling. You get so much stuff on that platform. So
everyone go check it out. It's on the GCW shows, are on Triller/Fight. JCW is free. We got the results up on the website, along with the JCW stream. If you go to Fightful, check out the results page. And also IWTV has a bunch of stuff over there as well. Jensen, let everybody know where they can find you at, where they can find you crying at.
Okay, yeah. If you want to watch IWTV, use code Fight Talk. I am endorsed and sponsored by them, so if you want to use that code, it lets them know that I sent you their way. It's just FIGHTTALK. You can use code Fight Talk, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Fight Talk _. I just got a PlayStation 5 this past weekend, so I've been.
Did you get the WWE 2K game?
That's why I bought it. Dude, you put Cody on the cover, I buy a whole ass system, bro. So yeah, I bought a PS5 for the new WWE game.
What do you think of it?
It's awesome. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I
haven't played one of these since 2017. It's been years, so I'm really enjoying it.
I gotta get it. I gotta get it because I really like the WWE GM mode from last year's game. Like that, I got a lot of time on that, so I need to get this year's game.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I've been playing through the showcase mode, where it's kind of cool how they did it this year because you get match clips during the match, so it's
they've done that in past years. Yeah.
It's pretty cool though. It's educational. It's like going back and rewatching all these old matches and kind of playing it. But I mainly like to just play it. My brother's getting the game too, and we do tag team matches and we play online and all that stuff. But I'll
get it tonight. I think I'm gonna get it.
Let me know when you get it. We can game.
Okay.
I'm on PlayStation 5 now. My handle is the same as my Twitter, my X, so it's Fight Talk _ on PlayStation. And yeah, well, listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. I cover indie wrestling over there every weekend. I talked about a lot of the shows we just mentioned. and a whole lot more this past Sunday. So that's over on FightfulSelect.com. And please enjoy this interview with Scotty Riggs. I know Jeremy mentioned at the top of the show, it's a long interview. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long. The first like half hour to 45 minutes, it's a little rough. And it's because Scotty's been through a lot these last few years. And for you to understand the redemption and the story and the big turnaround and where he is now, and to get into the talk of WCW and ECW and everything that y'all want, and the American Males and all that, Scotty Anton and everything, the clap, we go through all of that. But most of the wrestling talk starts at about 40 minutes in, but you need the beginning to understand the turnaround. So please enjoy this interview. It was one of my favorite interviews that we've done. It was something I was really looking forward to doing. And Scotty is a great dude who gave us a lot of his time. Thank you to Scotty Riggs. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks, Jeremy, for being a troll again today. And I'm going to go walk into the shoot job. I'm probably going to get complained about for being this late. I got to go. See you guys.
Bye, buddy. Love you. The great Stephen Jensen. I want to put that on screen so he could see it before he left. 5-star Cody promo, best talker in 2024 so far. I didn't realize just crying all the time makes you a great talker. Sure. If you say so, Andy. If you say so. All right, everybody, let's get into our interview with Scotty Riggs. Like we've been saying, first 40 minutes or so, kind of depressing. Not going to lie to everybody. Kind of depressing as we hear Scotty talk about sort of almost his downfall and things he was going through at a rough time for him in his life. And then at about the 45 minute mark, we start to pick up a little bit. We're very appreciative of Scotty for doing in like an hour and 40 minutes to pull back the curtain a little bit. And we ask all our guests, how much time do we have with you tonight? We don't want to keep anybody longer than they have. Scotty initially said 5 minutes. We're like, all right, well, let's give you a short interview. And he's like, no, we'll do about an hour. We're like, okay, cool. We appreciate that. So at like the 45 minute mark, again, it's kind of a depressing interview. And I'm thinking like, man, we're 45 minutes in. We only got like 15 minutes left. And we've hit on like nothing for his wrestling career. It's all just been sort of where he was at a low point in his life for a couple of years. Like this, it's a good talk. It's good to hear about, but we're a wrestling podcast. We obviously want to hear wrestling stories, to hear wrestling stories. I apologize if I froze there for a second. We want our audience to hear wrestling stories. And, it wasn't there for the first 45 minutes or so. So I'm thinking 15 minutes, we're not going to get a whole lot of wrestling. And then we get to talk about his return match at Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling a little bit. And then at about the hour mark, we at least got that little portion for his return at Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. Like, okay, that's something. And Jensen asked, like, do we have more time? And Scotty's like, you got as long as you want. Like, it's like, okay, cool. Now we can go. We can actually like really get into the wrestling stuff. So very appreciative of Scotty for giving us as much time as he did. Yeah, and it was a really, really fun interview. Really great interview. Scotty did one of the nicest dudes we've ever talked to. Jensen shares some stories about how Scotty was kind to him when Scotty was going through a lot that Jensen didn't know about. I certainly didn't know about, but like he was helping Jensen at a time where I don't know if a lot of people would have been as kind as he was based on everything else that was happening in his life. So it was really great to chat with him. I've been a WCW fan. That was my childhood. The American Males, just their theme song was a big part of my childhood. I still sing it to annoy the wife because it's funny to me, as people may have learned. But we got to sing. Leave a thumbs up on the video. We got to sing the song to Scotty. And that was really cool for a couple of WCW fans like Jensen and myself. And yeah, grew up watching a lot of Scotty Riggs. So it was really cool to talk to him, really cool to learn more about his story and get some good stories out of him in the wrestling sphere. So hope everyone enjoys this interview with Scotty Riggs. Here we go in the creator spotlight, former WCW World Tag Team Champion, Scotty Riggs.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert. And our guest today is an absolute legend. You may know him as a former WCW Tag Team Champion, Scotty Riggs, or maybe you remember him as the Clap, Scotty Anton.
Make sure you say that with proper respect, though. It's a WCW World Tag Team Champion. It was one of the last eras where World Tag Team Champion actually still meant something. Nowadays, they're all a AEW Tag Champ or a WWE Tag Champ or a New Japan Tag Champ. They seem to leave off that world part, which is supposed to be the declaration of what it's meant to. No, it's just a tag strap, a tag title.
I'll put respect on that. WCW World Tag Team Champion, along with Marcus Bagwell. We are joined by the Scotty Riggs. Thank you very much, Scotty, for joining us, man. We really appreciate it. How are you doing? You look incredible, man.
I am doing wonderfully. I mean, it's amazing how good I'm doing. If they taxed me for how good I was doing, we'd solve the debt.
Oh, man, I love to hear it. So for people who don't know, I interviewed you years ago. This would have been like 2016 or 17. I had just really started podcasting, and I just wanted to thank you first off before we got started, because you were one of the first wrestlers that I interviewed, and you gave me like 3 hours of your time that night, and it gave me a lot of confidence myself.
Crazy, man.
I know, it was awesome. And then like we talked from everything from like you getting into wrestling as a fan. We had a little bit of a mutual link because you were in Savannah. I went to school at Georgia Southern in Statesboro. So it was just really cool. And you gave me a lot of confidence to interview. And I'm, all the years later doing it with Fightful. So thank you very much for that.
You never smartened me up on that. Well, man, hey, we've come full circle now. It's you should be polished and, and lead me through this interview like, somebody leading through a tango.
There you go. So thank you very much.
Or leading through the clap, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Now you have, we'll just start off right now with, I know you said you're feeling great and you're looking great, and you recently have had a humongous transformation. It looks like physically, mentally, just all the way around. I've been following this journey, which you've done with Diamond Dallas Page recently, what you and Marcus have both done together. Marcus Buff Bagwell, of course, is who I'm referring to. Can you please just start off with just I know you said you're feeling great, but can you just elaborate a little bit about that? Because, man, everything about you seems to just be I'm just so happy to see it, man.
Let's to try to paint a picture for you, I guess, a little bit here. When where do you start though? I mean, I'm trying to paint a thing here. Dallas always said, to have a great after picture, you gotta have a really shitty before picture.
Right.
And when I came up here to Atlanta from Hilton Head, basically from Savannah, Georgia, came up here, I had a one take. You search it up on DDP's Twitter page. It's definitely out there, and it's one of those pictures you go, God, I hate for it to be seen, but it needs to be seen to really get an idea of where I came from. But it is one of the worst before pictures I ever saw. And it was a one take. It was, we're done. Can't get any worse than that. And the weird part we play with this with Dallas is we'll talk about the journey a little bit. We'll talk about how I've changed my shape and everything else. But I'll go, okay, Dallas, you showed it before. And they'll show the picture, and it's pretty horrifying. And this, okay, the 6 months, and it's a drastic change, the 6-month picture. And for two reasons. One, I went from a 38-inch waist in 6 months prior to a 35-inch waist in 6 months. And I also tanned. Major difference, Arn Anderson would tell you fat looks better tanned. But, I started out again to start off rough around the edges. You got to start somewhere. And I was tanned. I was doing DDPY yoga. I said that, but I was doing DDPY about an hour a day. I was doing cardio an hour a day when I first got up here and stuff. But it was just to try to get at least a summation before we get the next question. When you get around the right people, when you get around the right mentality, when you get a chance to really see where you start from and where you could be going, it's a trek, man. Hopefully you got some time so we can talk about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll follow up. And Jeremy, I know you have a lot of questions as well. But just to your point, and I'd like you to to tell the viewers of this show who may not know. And once again, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit more. I know that you had dealt with some mental health stuff, and it's something you've been pretty public about, like on Twitter and stuff when you were going through some stuff. And I remember years ago, you used to tag me and some of the other like MMA media people, and like every like weekend during the UFC fights, we'd like say who we thought was going to win and lose the fights, and I would always keep up with that. And then it kind of like disappeared, and I was kind of like, I wonder what's going on with Riggs. And it turned out that you were in a really dark place. And how important was it just to get these calls from people like Buff Bagwell and to kind of, to where you're at now, just kind of getting out of that darkness and to where, I mean, I'll just say this. I didn't know how well you were doing until I saw a picture of you at TCW. And I was like, oh my God, this guy has completely turned it around.
Again, when you get around the right people, when you get around the right mentality, to kind of paint the backstory for you, to give you the broadest picture possible. Right around 2017, 2018, my mom, who was in her 77, had some health issues. But I was living on Hilton Head Island at the time, and she had just started having some health issues. And being stubborn as any adult would be, even I'm stubborn about it. When you really feel sick, you just want you want to take care of it yourself. So that's basically what my mom was trying to do, was to deal with some physical issues she was having over the counter ways. She wanted to go to the emergency room, immediate med stuff of that sort. And I had actually come from Hilton Head to see her in Savannah that day and was taking her to a few doctor's appointments. And I said, you've been so sick for so long now, and you're not getting the results. I'm taking you to that urgent care place. And this is really where the start of everything pretty much happened, other than when we were doing the MMA tagging and fights and stuff, I was in a pretty good place. And that was a security blanket for me, as in being around people who had some of the same interest in picking the fights, Heidi and Phil and Matt and those guys, that whole crew, Stephanie. And it was easy to pick fights and have a blast and, who knocked out who and all that type of thing. And so that was an escape route for just the depression I've been battling at the time. Just alone have been battling that depression. And when it came down to my mom, my dad had passed away in 2004, but when it came down to my mom and the issues that she was struggling with, that day I'd taken her to her appointments. We had basically taken her back to the urgent care place she went to get some antibiotics. And walk her in, they sit down with her, and within maybe, urgent cares can take forever. Within about a 10-minute span, they pulled me aside and said, you get her to the emergency room as quickly as possible. Her kidneys are failing. I'm like, excuse me? Don't argue, don't ask, don't do anything. Get her over there. We're calling in advance for you. And she basically, again, was trying to deal with stuff over the counter, and her kidneys are failing on her at this point. So we get her into the hospital, and she has to spend 3 days in a ER room, hospital room. Not even that, because they don't have any beds in the hospital yet. I don't know if this beginning of COVID is the reason why or what was going on, but we spent 3 days in a room, and she's going up and down, feeling good, feeling okay, feeling good, feeling okay. And when we finally get her into her room, the next thing I know, I go home to kind of clean up. I think she's okay. All of a sudden, my phone's going off the hook that she's already been admitted to the ICU. she's got blood in her lungs, fluid in her hearts, and her kidneys are failing. All in a matter of it's a good time we got her in there then. So hopefully this is kind of making sense. What I'm telling you guys is all of a sudden out of nowhere, this urgent, immediate care of what is going on with mom, because nobody really knows what is going on, but everything seems to be failing at the time like this. And I dealt with my depression, the MMA guys and everything else, the fights we did. And when I disappeared and stuff like that, from when I stopped doing that with the fights and stuff, I was basically becoming a little bit of a recluse because I thought I could, because I just didn't want to be around people for a little while. And then when mom and all that stuff started happening, I really had no time for anything else. And I'm trying to hopefully make sense of all this, without rambling on you guys. Hopefully you can guide me with a few questions up here, other than me just sitting here and just rambling myself with a story.
We appreciate
it. She ended up spending 17 days in the ICU and almost died twice. And here I am trying to figure out what's going on. The doctors are trying to figure out what's going on. And my whole life is about to be turned upside down at this point. Because all of a sudden now I have someone who's going to be totally reliant upon me. And I don't know if I'm ready for it. And it's your mom, of all people. And when it was just me taking care of me and the dog and that type of thing, it was kind of easy to do. But when it came down to this point in time, it was really going to be a challenge to where I was. And she, like I said, we almost lost her twice within about a 14-day time frame, 17-day time frame in there. And I don't know if we can have more of a cliffhanger, maybe lead to a question one of you guys might have. How y'all want to direct this a little bit, so I'm not just rambling.
Well, I was getting okay. So she almost died twice. I have to ask, how is she? Is everything?
My mom passed away in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a couple. So it was a couple years later then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. I can.
She's in a much better place. I'm happier that she had gone to that much better place.
I can relate. I lost my dad last year, and I can very much relate to, hey, things seem fine, and then very quickly they are not fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, we left the hospital that night. Things were fine. We got a call 2 hours later. Hey, he's actively passing. So you understand how I understand how it turns very quickly. Okay, so let's go back to 2018 then. So you're trying to deal with everything that's going on with your mom, which is a very difficult situation. I think a lot of people can understand kind of being depressed and wanting to sort of get away from everybody, because now you got to focus on not only yourself, but your mom and everything. So how kind of did you deal with that? What is sort of the next step after that, after your mom was in the ICU?
Again, it comes down to that point where you got to start actively making decisions for somebody else. And I was not in a good place to be making decisions for somebody else. And when COVID hit and all the other issues of those years started hitting with everybody, you just kind of sit back and go, okay, what can be done here? How am I going to be able to do this? And just trying to figure out what's the best decision-making process. When it comes to family, I have an older brother. We have been estranged for probably, he's 4 years older than me. So to give you a little bit of our family dynamic, I was a sports guy, played football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, everything else that involved in sports, that was me. My brother was more of a bookworm. He put models together, completely two different people. He's night, I'm day, so we're completely different people. I mean, if you looked at us in a picture, I look exactly like my dad, but I have my mom's nose. He looks exactly like my mom, but has my dad's nose. You can see it in the picture and go, wow, boom, 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 and that type thing. So we're definitely still brothers, but we're just so completely two different people. So when this situation is going on with my mom, he was up here in Atlanta, but we were down in Savannah, and I pretty much had the ability at the time to drop everything I was doing where I was living on Hilton Head Island to take care of mom. But what was going on with her, though, she had to spend time in the hospital. So I'm sitting back trying to go Hilton Head to the house, blah, 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 blah. So I basically pack up my stuff on Hilton Head Island at the moment. Had a sweet condo on the beach. I don't know if the wrestler, the MMA fighter, Sean O'Hare. We had been great friends. We had the same lawyer on Hilton Head Island. And I was basically renting his beach condo from him. I rented it for 10 years pretty much. And I mean, on the water, I could throw a rock, hit the ocean. It was my dream place to be. And I had to basically give that up to be able to take care of mom. Just never a fun thing to do, to give up that dream location. But mom needed somebody to take care of her 24/7. And so in light of the situation and circumstances, I just had to, again, being I'm having the issues with depression, the issues with that. And most of the time I masked my depression through many years through either drugs and alcohol. But everyone goes, I was really not an addict. But my thing was, I tried to numb my stuff. I didn't have to wake up and have a beer. I didn't have to wake up to have this. But when my emotions took care of me, I had to numb it up with whatever I could. I wasn't a heavy drinker, but I did not have an issue taking an extra pain pill here or there just to numb myself up to deal with situations. So here comes mom dealing with all her sudden issues out of nowhere. So I'm really struggling because I got to be coherent to make medical decisions for mom. So we're going through a completely topsy-turvy time in our life. And then, like I said, when the pandemic hit. So I got all kind of, the kitchen sink is definitely being thrown into this. I mean, if you watch the tables, ladders, and chairs match from any time in the 90s, you saw how crazy that was. You even had an inkling how the wrestling world could maybe even come into this. The insanity of a match like that, that was the insanity of what my life was just beginning to scratch the surface of. So
this sounds like, apologies. This sounds like it was almost, everyone says like to pull themselves out of any dark place, like you almost have to hit a rock bottom point. And this sounds like, at least mentally and certainly emotionally with everything going on, this was your almost like breaking point of something needed to change. Am I off base with that?
No, my rock bottom unfortunately included my mom.
Okay.
And that was the toughest part about it. I mean, most people's rock bottoms themselves dealt with that time where it's you and everything's got to be concerned about you. But my tough point was I could not at that point worry about me. I had to be so worried about her. And that's where, again, sounds mumbo jumbo a bit. It sounds a little bit like there's a whole lot going on, because there was a whole lot going on. But again, when an individual maybe gets can come to a point in their life where they hit that rock bottom and they can submit or will go to rehab, go to a clinic. I didn't have that option at the time. And so my option was take care of mom, put myself on the back burner. And that was just a completely unhealthy thing to do. but I did not have a choice. And so I kind of had to put the old grown-up pants on, that type of thing. I couldn't wear the cargo shorts and flip-flops like I did every day. Had to put a pair of jeans on, a pair of shoes, and get to work. And so that's why sometimes I may be reaching for words throughout our conversation here. It's because sometimes it's just for me to try to make it make sense. In my mind, it does what we went through. But Mom was getting ready for her own journey that I was having to go with her on. And so basically for the next 3 to 4 years, it was a roller coaster ride of her getting better, gaining some strength, gaining some independence again. And then something would happen and it would knock her down again. She'd get stronger, she'd get better, knock her down again. Her rehab would do great. She'd learn to speak better. She'd learn to eat better. She'd learn it. And then she'd get knocked down again. And it went like that for 3 to 4 years. And when you become somebody's 24/7 caregiver, I'm trying to do a nice way to put this. When you become a 24/7 caregiver for a parent, that means you got to wipe Mom's butt. You got to not sleep at night. You've got to catch a cat nap during the day because at 1 o'clock in the morning, you could be hearing, Scott, I need you. Or it could be 4 o'clock in the morning. Then it could be 4:15. Then it could be up the rest of the morning because something's going on back and forth. And I know, again, I'm mumbo jumbled around here for you. I'm trying to make it a little more sense. And hopefully you guys listening can cut me off and direct me somewhere if you pop a question in your head.
I know because I get what you're saying though, because this is all super mentally like exhausting for you, I'm sure, and you're already dealing with your own depression, and then this is, I'm sure, financially it's a mess as well, and because I know eventually you wind up living in your car after all of this, so it's like, you deal with all of this and then you're in that spot. And I don't know if you want to jump like right to that, as far as like, because I don't know if that's kind of what you're getting at, is like I totally understand that, like, this is having to deal with this for years, and then you wind up in a situation where like you're homeless after all.
I mean, yeah, that's part of the path I was leading towards. Was I had to retrofit my mom's house to wheelchair access. I had to redo her bathroom for the handrails, to put in a different shower system so she could take a shower. Should she clean herself when she could, type thing. But I'm still having to bathe my mom. We had to put in a different toilet system so she could be. My mom got to use a bidet for the first time in her life, just because it made it easier to do her butt that way, and it made it easier for me to have to do in that situation. So we kind of went invested that way for her to be more comfortable. But that was kind of a two-pronged thing where part of my family history, I guess you could say, was we had bad teeth in my family. Both my parents, my brother, and as far as I can remember, my grandparents, everyone had false teeth as time went on. And so bad teeth were just almost a given that was going to kind of happen through genes. And I was having dental issues at the time, having money saved up to take care of my mouth. But when Mom needed, that money went towards Mom. So everything that I was going to take care of for myself, kind of like your mom and dad weren't able to do things for themselves. Basically, I had to give up pretty much every penny I had to take care of Mom during that time. And when COVID hit and everything, I was still having to go to Walmart, still having to go to pharmacy, whatever, get medication. My mom had a couple cats I had to take care of. So to kind of get rid of the backstory here and kind of get us to where we need to be at with all my bumbling, stumbling, fumbling there, had come to a point where my finances were completely exhausted. And we ended up losing the house. It was the family house. And it ended up being me and 2 cats. One of the cats did not like me a bit. Except for when I opened up a can of food, he liked me. Beyond that, did not want to have anything to do with me. And that was like my mom's favorite cat would sit on her chest. When we brought my mom home for hospice, the coolest thing I was able to at least look at everything. And all that time period, I never brought COVID back to my mom. So that was a little bit of a pride thing. I could check off the box. I never got my mom COVID. She never had it in the ins and out of the hospital she had, and I never brought it back to her. I didn't get it till after she had passed. So at least I sat back and said, I gave mom, that's an attaboy for myself that I didn't give mom COVID. And during that crazy time, and everyone can kind of maybe think about being an introvert and extrovert in their lives. And probably everybody thinks a wrestler is this outward going kind of crazy guy. I became from that outward person to completely just inward. The only guy that, other than a neighbor that I would speak to on a random basis, was a Walmart greeter named Ezekiel, who was a Dallas Cowboys fan. And we would chit chat as I would walk in, a 10-minute conversation about the Cowboys. And as I left, a 15-minute conversation more about the Cowboys. And those were the things that kind of that was my interaction with John Q. Public, with anybody for a while. And when it came down to the point where the house got foreclosed on, the only thing I was able to, in a sense, get maybe a little bit of good karma work on my side during that time frame was Georgia was playing the national championship game and the playoffs had just started. And so the guy who was basically getting the house, I was able to convince him to let me stay a little bit extra time so I could watch those games. I mean, that's kind of a funny way of looking at, trying to stay in my house as long as I could before I had to live in my car. I basically lost the house. It was me and 2 cats in my car.
Yeah. And so
to go from being Scotty Riggs, where people would have this big view of whatever you had in your life. Again, that's why I kind of told the story of I had a condo on the beach. I gave that up for my mom because she was well worth it. You hate to give that up, but she was well worth it. And I came to a point where it was living in a car, and it was a Toyota Camry, 2007, because my 2017 F-150 that I just bought, I kind of had to give that up because it had a payment. The other car was paid for. So my dream vehicle I had just bought, I had to give up because it had a payment that went with it. So I had to take it back. And so it went from what could have been at least comfortable to a very much uncomfortable sleeping position. And when you get to that point in your life, you really don't want a whole lot of people knowing that you're living in your car, whether you're friends of 20 years or friends of, a few days. You didn't want to tell people you were sleeping in your car. Well, but that was my point in life.
So if you're living in your car and you just get the call from Buff Bagwell out of the blue, was it about the dark side of the ring? Is that initially how that conversation started? Because I've heard the recording of you telling him yeah, I'm living in my car, no big deal, and they're like, no big deal. No, hold on a second, are you serious? Yeah, and they immediately wanted to help.
That was the crazy thing. Because I was talking to Dallas Page about it a couple of days ago, and he goes, "Man, when DDPY is more than just the athletic part of it. DDPY is a production company also, and sometimes when the Scott Hall story or Jake's story or Butterbean's Some of those guys, part of their story was they filmed almost everything. So when Marcus called me on the phone about what was going on, Steve Yu, who's, and this will give you an idea of how prominent Steve Yu is as just a guy whose mind is sharp as a tack. We should do this, we should do that. When a few of the boys started meeting Steve Yu along the way with Dallas, Stone Cold Steve Austin pulled Page aside and said, "Hey, where can I find me a Steve Yu?" That's how quick decision making, everything. Yeah, if you need, he thought of it before it needed to be done. It was already accomplishing a task for you. That's how good Steve Yu is. And so Steve was actually recording some of this stuff. And when Paige heard the first phone call about me sleeping in the car, I get a little choked up even thinking about getting. Paige goes, "Dude, you were so nonchalant, like it was no big deal." I said, "Dude, when you're pretty much suicidal to a point in your life where the gun's sitting in the seat next to you, phone rings, it's Marcus. It was for the dark side of the ring. I don't know when this episode will air or how close it's going to air, but the episode it's actually being shown tonight. Is the episode 2 of the season 5, which is Marcus's episode, is airing tonight.
This will be on Thursday morning, by the way. So the night, like the morning after it airs, so like people will be able to watch it right away.
Yeah, the show that Marcus called about is airing tonight, which is kind of kind of thing with it here. But yeah, when Marcus called, I was like, "Dude, I'm sleeping in my car, man." And when you get to that point in your life, you pretty much, I knew what my fate was going to be. At least in my mindset, I had accepted my fate, and that's where I was in my lot in life. Whether I made it through that night, whether maybe a couple more days, maybe it was the moment I hung out with him and that was it. Really didn't know. You can't really. Sometimes you think about it, take a breath, and you slide the gun into the glove compartment for another day. But I was so close to it. And Dallas was like, "You were so nonchalant. I didn't think it was real. I thought y'all needed to do a second take of that thing." I was like, "No, that was reality of what was going on. That's where he was." And when you're in that position, that's your lot in life. You accept it, and it's not meant for dramatic purposes. It's reality. And the way it led, that got me actually up to Savannah, was I needed some tires in my car. And Marcus said, "Hang on, let me call you right back." A few minutes go by, phone rings, it's Marcus. And he's like, "Okay, I got your money for your tires. You need to call, get your tires done, and get an appointment done." I said, "Okay, sure, give me a minute." Hung up. And unbeknownst to me, on the other side, Marcus is going, "I know Scotty. Scotty's not coming." He didn't know how close I was to taking my own life at that point. But Marcus is like, "I know Scotty. He's not accepting. He doesn't. I never want to be a burden to people." And Marcus knew that if I don't have it, I deal without it. I don't get it. And Marcus kind of knew that about my characters, like, and when I called him back, I said, "Okay, I got an appointment at 9:00 in the morning." And Marcus went, you can almost hear the sigh of relief in his voice that at least taking that next step to get tires done to be on the road that next day. And that's pretty much what got me up to Atlanta from Savannah. And that was the first step in the recreation. I don't think we've ever really come up with a. You had the resurrection of Jake the Snake. I don't know what it was with Scott. I really don't think they've labeled me some other way other than just, it's the rebuilding of, and it's just it was that first chance to actually breathe, and let's see what this adventure is going to happen.
Well, and part of the joke there, right, is that Buff Bagwell offered to pay, of all people. Buff Bagwell was like, yeah, like dude, this is serious. I will pay. I've heard DDP talk about how big of a thing that was, considering where Marcus himself was coming from and all the progress he's made, that he extended that helping hand to his friend, his old brother, Scotty Riggs, to help him out. So, man, and then so you get to Atlanta, and Jeremy, do you have any other follow-ups, by the way? Because I have plenty more, but
no, keep going with the story.
Bring it.
Okay, so all right, so you get to Atlanta. It's you, Marcus, who himself, as I mentioned, has had a transformation and a big turnaround himself, and you're just kind of they just start getting you on the DDPY. They change your diet and all this stuff. Is that just kind of slowly? You just start kind of slowly gaining more confidence and seeing the changes or how long did it take before you started realizing, like, oh, this is working?
The strange way to look at it was Dallas basically sat me down and said, because again, my whole mindset at plenty of times in life was I never want to be a burden to people. If I didn't have it, I dealt without it. And Dallas goes, well, I know who you are. I've known who you've been for a long time, since the mid-90s when we first met each other. He goes, I know you're the quirks to my personality, basically. He goes, I kind of know how you get to be at times. And the only thing I want you to do to pay me back is become the best you can be. And I heard that, but it was still a tough thing for me to kind of still accept it. And I even told Paige, I'd wander around. The accountability crib is a $1.5 million mansion, basically. It's this big 6 bedrooms, I think it is. I mean, it's a big old crib. And it's the accountability crib. I mean, and me and Marcus are the only 2 people in this thing. I'm upstairs in the room that used to be Jake's. He's downstairs on the first floor that used to be Butterbeans. And so we're completely opposite ends of the house. We meet up always in the middle of the kitchen to cook food, eat some food together and stuff like that. But we're still opposite ends of what's going on. And I would actually wander the crib trying to make sure I'm in the right place, whether I should still be accepting this, whether I should enjoy it, how I should enjoy it, how I should embrace it, there's so many little things, and you either make the most of it. And I slowly started, Marcus was helping me with my diet, getting me back to working out weights again was not a tall task, because I've always worked out. It's just when you're invested into your mom and you don't have a chance to work out and that type of thing is going on in your life, to get me back working out weights again is not too hard. But to have the right people, the right energy level, the right way that they approach time with you is what made the difference. Their positive energy, their attitudes, their mentalities, the way they help flip a switch on and off on me so that I didn't haywire myself in it, that they were spending time with me. We were spending time together. And as much as working out was and diet was, we used to always play golf together. Lex, Sting, Marcus, myself, a couple of boys around, maybe Rick Steiner, somebody would always go play golf together. And then there's a thing called Top Golf. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with it, but they had invited me to go. Let's go hit some golf balls. Go to Top Golf. I didn't want to do that because my mindset was to retrovert a little bit, and they basically had browbeat me to go play Top Golf. I was making excuses to kind of not include myself, and that was just the depression, in a sense, still lingering in me, the negative thoughts towards myself still lingering in me, that I slowly had to start really breaking those walls down, and just embrace that these people, they don't know me, but they sure do have a love towards me that I'm not used to. And so I started really starting to learn to accept somebody else's love, so that somebody else cared enough about me to want to include me in things that, I don't know these guys, but they sure do want me around. And if you ever got around a PC Center and the people there, the thing you find is so tremendously different is the energy they have. It ain't fake. These guys are genuine. And when you got somebody that genuinely, they're being genuine with you, it really, really does make you just all of a sudden, again, I'm trying to find the right word. When it's genuine, things happen. You know what I'm saying? It's his best way I can put it. And these guys are so genuine. So again, my diet started kicking in. I went from 241 with a 38-inch waist. Within 6 months, had reshaped my body to having a 220, 221, 222 around that weight, but down to a 36-inch waist. Then the next thing I noticed, the jeans I just bought already need to be taken in again. It was like almost a 34-inch waist in 6 months. Was how quickly the results came. And one of the things that would really help with that were power cuffs. I don't know if that's if you guys heard about that yet, but
you wear it on your shoulder, right? It helped you lift.
You wear it on your bicep.
Okay.
And it's proven scientific technology that the Japanese have been doing for a long time, where they take the rubber hoses, tie around your arms. It restricts the blood flow, and it tricks your muscle into thinking, I'm lifting heavy weights, but you're not. I hate to use that word trick, but that's kind of what it does. It allows your body to use lightweight, but you get results like you're lifting heavy weight. And I did this with a completely torn rotator cuff that I didn't know was as bad as it was. It was something that was almost to a point where it was in that torn area. But we were doing a workout and doing incline presses, and all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, my shoulder went. I was like, "Oh, what the heck was that?" It was just a sharp pain, and that was a complete tear of my rotator cuff. So I took a few weeks off, got back into it. And I've learned I'll never do incline presses again. I can do flat, do other exercises, but they work on your right in the cuff of your bicep and your shoulder. They work for chest, back, bi, whole 9 yards. There's also cuffs for your legs. So it came down to a point where we're now reshaping my body with diet, the workouts themselves, the attitude, having a 67-year-old Diamond Dallas Page outworking a guy 10 years his junior with the DDPY, blowing my doors off with cardio, with the whole, doing an hour with me, I'm sucking wind, and he's just barely breaking a sweat type thing. And so I continually started growing in each and every direction. So that if you go to his page, and you will see, if you go to Real DDP, you'll see the beginning picture which is a horrible beginning picture, the 6-month picture, which will blow your doors off, and then just a couple weeks ago is a recent picture we did a photo shoot of. And I can still remember Dallas saying, man, the results, you outworked what we thought you were going to do. We thought maybe a year to get the results you have right now. The results you got in 6 months, they didn't think I'd get for a year from now. And when it came down to getting my mouth taken care of, and that was the thing that, again, when it comes down to confidence, if you can't smile, if you can't be around the boys and cut up and laugh and everything else, that was something, if remember the beards I had over the years, whether it was a dark gray beard or Jeremy's got a nice beard going on. I had that dark beard going on a few years ago. Then it came down to the gray beard. So I had the gray beard going on for a while. Or the salt and pepper look, that look going for me for a bit. But that beard was my security blanket. So that if I wanted to hide, I just basically would maybe talk, keep everything kind of hidden. But the beard was my security blanket, so nobody knew how bad my mouth was. And it was pretty bad, basically. And the Nubia, the group who does this, a $50,000 smile, where they pretty much bring you up. They flew me to Salt Lake City. And I think one step back, actually, they had dropped some hints about some stuff happening for me, But again, maybe I've had one too many chair shots where you don't always think, it's going to be, they're talking about this for your mouth, that for your mouth, but just impatience and time, things will happen. And I really wasn't thinking about it too much. I drove a little crazy when they would drop a hint to be like, well, when is this going to happen? And then Dallas kind of gave it away a little bit, talking about these guys are coming in to check you out. If things are going to happen. Excuse me while I'm burping there. But I'm sitting back, my mind's still not put to the fact that these guys came in from Salt Lake City just for a workout. So basically they came in, they had pretty much approved, give me the $50,000 smile. They came in, we did a workout, and Dallas had actually, on purpose, pulled another one guys in to help him deal with some podcast issues. And I put the other two guys through the workout, not knowing Dallas was right around the corner, kind of listening to what I was doing with the workout, with the Power Cup workout that I was putting them through. I didn't miss steps. I was doing what I was doing. So he had a rhyme or reason why he was doing things he was doing. But at the end of the workout itself, they told me they were going to take care of my mouth and everything else. They flew me out to Salt Lake City that day, or that very next day. And 2 days of sitting there putting things together. They took everything out finally. And within the very next day, I had a smile. And when you have a new lease on life that was given to you, and it's all just being able to, really smile. It's a confidence builder that nothing can compare to. It really
looks incredible, by the way. Your teeth look awesome. Like they're some of the nicest teeth I've ever seen, man. I love it. And by the way, I teared up watching you eat that steak in that video. Like when you got your teeth back, you could eat steak again. I was literally crying on my couch. I was like, this is so beautiful. This man gets this back. Like, it was so great to see.
One of the crazy things about that, they sit you down and you kind of start, do you want this brightness or that brightness or what factor do you want? And I'm like I'm getting a little teared up myself about it. I'm like, I don't want one of those Hollywood brights where they go, something that Jim Carrey would have in one of his goofy movies that, it's like, whoa, on you. To where I just kind of went middle of the road on that. I kind of knew how my smile was before, where it really wasn't like square choppers, like some bank robber would have in a day. Just nice, easy, casual. They want hell on yards. You pretty much got to pick your smile. And it was really amazing. Did the choices I had, and to see the results right now, it's one of those things where you go, it's felt like they've been there since day one. It's not like I've all of a sudden out of nowhere got this. They feel so natural and at home and comfortable that they felt like they've been there forever already. So it's really insane how they do it, and insane how, like I said, the very next day you got
right?
that.
Yeah, like 1 day turnaround. That's unreal that they can do that. Incredible.
It's insane.
And for people who don't know, I've seen some of these videos, of course, like I've been kind of referring to, and a big part of that was like it was like a reward for you. It was like you came here, you put all this work in, you turned it all around, and because they weren't going to just fix you weren't just going to give you teeth. They gave you $50,000 teeth just for showing up. Like you had to do the work, and you earned that. And now look where you're at, man. That's
so basically. That's the point that Dallas, when he told me, he goes, I want you to be the best you can be. He goes, I didn't think you'd do it in 6 months. He goes, you definitely put the work in. And he was like, he goes, we've had some transformations of people over time to a certain extent. He goes, but you have blown the doors off anything that anyone else has ever done. He goes, even Dallas, if you know Dallas, even he didn't have the words exactly how to say it moved him, my hard work. He goes, you put the work in. He goes, you went above and beyond. And to me, I'm just going, well, dude, I just did what you asked me to do. He goes, no, you did more. And maybe in me, I'm like, I'm accepting of it. Again, one of the strongest things that I have to still grow in and still learning and still move forward in is not being satisfied. That I remember the third set of pictures that were just taken a few weeks ago. When they sent them to me, Steve and Dallas can both say, because the first thing I said to him was, man, I still need to work on my shoulders. I didn't say, man, I look good. The tan's wonderful. Look at that. Who's that? Look at that cool ass dude in the picture. And the first thing I said is, man, I still need to work on my shoulders. And that was my mentality. You're like, dude, be happy with where you're at, to a point. I'm like, no, I just didn't see it that way. I still need to work on something. I didn't see. And one of the craziest things is, can we curse on your page?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Absolutely.
You can? Okay. Dallas's famous lines to me is, you're one handsome motherfucker.
Yeah.
Do you see it? I'm like, no, I don't see it. He goes, well, son of a bitch, you need to see it because you are one handsome motherfucker. He goes, you're a Cary Grant Hollywood handsome. If you don't know who Cary Grant is, Google the cat. He's a pretty good looking dude. And we just did a thing up in Ohio this past weekend. And I got a text message from RBD, and the text goes, hey, Ohio, what's up, Scotty-O? You handsome motherfucker. My mind's going, either him and our DDP are colluding with that handsome motherfucker term on me. Because even he started throwing that, and he goes, I love your smile. There's a couple of things, couple of he's coming and he goes, I love your smile. Because he knew I've known Rob since 92. So we've known each other for a long time, and he knew when things were on me, because I would share stuff back and forth with him, but I would never get detailed with him. But for him, when he knew when I wasn't smiling for whatever reasons I wasn't. But when he learned and he saw my smile, that's when he started going, he was happy as all get out for me. So it was every little step of my path or my journey has definitely had an ending to where some motherfuckers get put on the end of it.
Yeah, and also then Jeremy, this is my last one before I'll turn it over to you for a second. But this is kind of a joke, but kind of not, because you're right where you're at, handsome motherfucker. Is this the first time you've ever been buffer than Muff Bagwell?
I've actually had a few people say that. I've actually had a few people say it in front of Marcus, and Marcus being a different person than Mark used to be. If you would have said that to Mark Bagwell just a decade ago, maybe 5 years ago, he would have been livid. He would have been pissed off. It would have been such a bruise to his ego. He's even gone, you are so much better looking than I ever was. And for him to put that over like that, I kind of go, wow, there might be something to this more handsome motherfucker to it, you know? When Mark puts me over stronger than him, I can kind of buy into it a little bit more just to get that attaboy from him that way.
I wanted to ask, how did the handsome motherfucker get coaxed into returning to the ring for Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling?
Former champion, there, by the way. Former TCW champion in the house.
Wow, that was one that I got caught way off guard. None of us were actually prepared for it when QT out of nowhere. They were talking about doing a first TCW show in a while, but didn't. Again, you hear stuff going, but you don't put any stock into it. Oh, you see my Cowboys tattoo there?
Yeah.
How cool is that? Other than I get this. Last year's not Christmas, but a birthday present from somebody. And I'm like, they better win me a championship this year. And they get put out first round by the Packers.
You have the star on your hand also, don't you?
Yeah. That way, if I like you, we go like this. If I don't like you, we do this. So it fits. You know, it's all in one motion. But yeah, where were we?
TCW.
When the Cowboys takes over your mentality, nothing else matters.
Yeah. We were talking the TCW, like the All-Star.
When that thing started, we done like a photo shoot, and because QT needed some new pictures, and taking those pictures of me, and none of us knew that QT was actually going to do this. QT did, but we didn't until afterwards. He goes, well, there's something I want to ask of you. And we're like, dun, dun, dun. What's up now? You know, he goes, we're going to put an 8-man tag together. And it would be Glacier, Luther Biggs, QT, and myself against 4 students. And the reason why and the purpose behind redoing a TCW is the main reason Dusty did it back in the day was to give the youngsters somewhere to go to. The youngsters, because WCW was closing down, there's no more territories to go to. I was very lucky and very blessed to get into USWA before it closed down for 8 months to prepare me in '95 to tag with Bagwell. There's no territories left like that right now. There's some schools, but like somewhere where you can really learn your craft, there wasn't. So that's why Dusty kind of got that started. And QT had asked, he goes, would you want to wrestle in that match? All of us kind of looked at each other like, I was like, sure, yeah, why not? You know, I mean, how do you turn down a chance to have fun in a match? Because to me, it'd be something to do. It'd be something to just to have fun with, like it was supposed to be. And then you started thinking about it a little bit, going, man, I'm 56 years old. How's this going to feel the next day? It's not the next day. It's the day after that day when the real soreness will maybe set in. But it was one of those things where it's like QT get the option. It was like first match in 15 years. Yeah, why not? And that's what I kind of opened up the door for that. And that was definitely a just a cool memory to have. Above all things, if nothing else came of it, it'd be a cool memory. And it's on, it's not on a VCR tape that nobody knows how to play the VCR footage anymore, or it can be on a phone. It can be on stuff that you can have that memory now type thing. So it's a different way of having that memory.
You looked great in there, by the way, doing drop kicks and everything, man. Looked great. Do you think you have some more matches in you?
You can never say never, but like I said, I have a complete tear destroyed cuff in my right shoulder here, with a couple of other little spurring and some other just a messy shoulder joint. But the crazy thing, or not even crazy thing, the blessing of it comes from those power cuts again, where they, Cody Rhodes will be the first to, when he tore his pec, he implemented the,
Nightmare Family band on right now.
Are you a Cody Crybaby?
I'm not massive Cody Crybaby. I'm Lassiter High School just like him. So I mean, I'm
a Cody Crybaby too.
Let's go.
I'm with you. You might be a Viking. I might be a cowboy, but I'll be a Cody Crybaby with it too. Because brother, believe me, it's something that the power cuffs basically got him healthy from the torn pec in a fairly rapid time and got stronger than it was before. His physical therapy would have been probably a longer 3 months, and probably not have the foundation that it has of being more secure in how the tissue is healed up and how the strength of the muscle would help. Because it's definitely got my shoulder is stronger. The range of motion is just from the power cuffs have built everything around there to where I have more. There's that one range of motion that is just basically here instead of where I can do this. Normally you can't do that with a torn rotator cuff. You don't have this freedom of movement, but because of the power cuffs, I do. So that's another way that they help with the healing process. They help with the strengthening. They help with physical therapy, above and beyond what regular physical therapy can do for you. So you never know what more things could happen out of this with the power cuts. You never know if another match on another level, another stage could happen. I do remember one of the guys along the route back in November, and they were teasing the idea. Somebody dropped in, where there's a tease of another match come up. This was last November, way before even the TCW idea was happening. I was like, really? Oh, we weren't supposed to say anything. Nobody's spoken up about it since, and I'm like going, I'm not hinting at anything, and I don't know anything. I don't have any pearls of wisdom to or any something to unveil and show here. There's none of that happening, and I don't really see anything, like I said, on a huge stage happening. But again, you really never know. But I definitely gained like a lot with the smile, being able to get in the ring and have that confidence in the ring. It was good. So when you can develop some confidence in your life, when you've reshaped your body, when you've reshaped your mind, your attitude, and how you feel about yourself, and how you can, a purpose you give yourself. When those things come in line, you definitely feel a lot better about where you're at. A lot better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you guys have is it okay if we go a few more minutes? I know we got about an hour, but I had some more questions about like your career and stuff.
Dude, you can go as long as you need to.
Jeremy, I don't know if you have any follow-ups for that, or if you want to talk a little bit. I definitely wanted to get that some like WCW, ECW questions and stuff out there too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how were you feeling 2 days after the match? Like everything feeling good?
I actually felt pretty good. I wasn't sore. I mean, there was a little bit of, a little this, a little that. With age comes, the wisdom of knowing that you're going to have some aches and pains, and they were there. But it also let me know that I had fun. It wasn't like it wasn't a pain you got going, oh, God, that sucks. It was more like you just got to go, man, that was fun, man. I don't mind that sort, So it's a good thing.
And then you were at Sting's last match. So before we focus on your career, I wanted to know what that whole experience was.
Talk about a cat who did a heck of a lot more. At 7 years older than me. And again, did a heck of a lot more in his last match. That was one of the coolest things to be invited to that. About maybe a month ago, got a text from Stinger to me and Marcus about coming to the show and being a part of it and everything else. And it was like when he asked us to do it, it was like, heck yeah, I'm in. Marcus was all in, but unfortunately, he couldn't go because of how do you want to put it, the trials and tribulations that he has in his life with his DUI court and other things. Again, he is 18 months sober. He is doing really well on that. I mean, there's no matter what the dirt sheets say, no matter what rumor may be, no matter what somebody else may spin it. I've been around him for the past year. He's not backslid. He's not having an issue. He's doing really well. And he wanted to be there. He just could not get the approval for that. And plus, he was just in Louisiana for Friday and Saturday. It would have been one hell of a drive to go from Shreveport, Louisiana, to stop here in Atlanta to catch up with me in Dallas, go up to Greensboro. And he just had foot surgery too. So to put all that and a cherry on top would have been, to get in there, this drug court wouldn't allow him to do it. So otherwise, it would have been a blast to have him there too.
It was great.
That was awesome. That was very cool. I definitely didn't put any feelers that I was even there out at all until after the show.
Well, I was sitting right above where you guys were walking, so I saw you,
really?
Nikita and Magnum and Dallas, all come through. I was like, Scotty Riggs is down there, and everybody else is down there as well. So yes, I was sitting in that little above section.
So you had great seats then. Cool.
Yeah, very good seats. I had to be there for Sting's last match.
One of the most moronic people who's supposedly still in the know of the business is a person by the name of Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
Who claims to have had all this little stuff. And I don't mind saying this. I will, when my mom was ill, I would, an afternoon 5 to 10 minute power nap would revitalize me. So I would sit down and I found out by pure chance, Jim Cornette puts me to sleep. So in the middle of the afternoon, if I need to take a 10-minute power nap, I would put a Cornette, a little maybe 15, 20-minute thing on, and I will fall asleep for about 15, 20 minutes. He puts me right to sleep. I'll wake up and feel refreshed and ready to go. And to have heard him go, yeah, you got Nikita Koloff, you got Magnum TA, and God love him, but Scotty Riggs, what is he doing there? And I'm sitting back in my mind going, if you knew Sting at all, he has friends that aren't just the overs, aren't just the Nikitas and the Magnum TAs and the Arn Andersons who was off camera or DDP. You know, I'm a legit friend of Stinger's. I've been very blessed with that friendship for a long time. And to have Cornette question, why is Scotty Riggs there? There's a reason why Scotty Riggs there. There was a reason why I was invited to be there. So that was kind of a cool thing. Again, for Stinger to invite us up there and to be able to be a part of it was really cool. And one of the coolest things I got to kind of know, the first time I met Tony Khan was about 2 years ago. It was after my mom had passed. And I was in a little bit of a dark place. Not in a little bit. I was really in a dark place. And the guys I saw then that saw me, I remember seeing me back that July in Savannah at the show. Like, dude, to compare that Scotty then to the Scotty now, they're like, dude, it's unreal. Just because you were so dark then, nobody could tell what was going on with you, but they knew something was wrong. But to see me now, they were like, man, you're just a completely different animal. And it's so much better to be that animal I am today. But to sit back and still have Jim Cornette question while I was there, it's like, Cornette makes me want to question, why do you consider yourself some, legit, whatever you call yourself in the wrestling business today? I'm just I keep those, like to throw stuff in the cloud because he hates AEW. But I like to go, you don't know, like you like shouting back at him. You don't know what you think you know, kid.
Yeah.
So it's entertaining.
For sure. Well, I mean, in your friendship with Sting, that goes back to, like, did you become friends like in WCW from the time you spent there originally?
It was pretty much when I came in to be Bagwell's partner. I pretty much came in knowing just Bagwell at the time. And our first real introduction to everybody was that first Nitro. And me and Marcus had worked Buckhouse Buck and Dick Slater in the, I used to call it a dark match for the Nitro. We did like a 30-minute dark match, tag match. And so none of us knew that Lex was there. So here you have a dynamic of me and Marcus as a tag team, me being nobody, Lex and Sting owning a gym together, Main Event Fitness. Sting and Marcus have become friends over the years. And so really it was at that point, who is the oddball? It was this kid here who basically, I drove the car, put the bags in the car, being the good greenhorn that I was, to building a rapport and a friendship from that point on, where we played golf together, we traveled together, we hung out here, we'd have meals here, travel there, every little thing you think of, we built a friendship and built rapport over the years of. Through prayer, our relationship with God, just through still the banter of some of the silly things we would say to each other over the years. You drop a message to somebody with a silly little quote that only we understand, and you knew would make him laugh, is kind of cool. So that's where I've been very blessed to still maintain that friendship with Sting over the years. And again, it's still cool to think that we're still tight, and it's a gift from the good Lord above for sure.
Do you have any like favorite memories of your time in WCW? Like, was it the era with Buff? Was it going to the Flock? Like, I mean, like, what would you say is like some of your favorite memories from being in WCW?
I mean, it's so hard to nail down one.
You can give us
but I mean, really the coolest thing that we got to do, and that I will basically say was probably the coolest thing, was the Flock sitting ringside. Nobody else really got to do that much. We would go out, whether 3-4 matches before, if we had to do something, or maybe 1 or 2 matches, but we got to sit there amongst the fans and watch the matches that way. And to me, that was the most fun. of anything else we did. Out of most matches was just be able to sit there. And I mean, I don't even have great matches with like I have great matches with Raven, with Marcus. The coolest tag match you ever had was facing Lexus Sting in Huntsville on that Nitro, because we had just traveled with them that day up there or over there, however you want to put it. And I still, if you ever watch the match back, we're all doing this. I'm looking at Nick Patrick going like this. I'm going, goosebumps on my arm, because when Sting's music hit, to feel the energy of that crowd, I felt like a 5-year-old fan going, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool!" But I had goosebumps all up and down my arm from Sting's entrance. You know, that energy was amazing. But when it comes down to it, to all that, it was just being able to sit ringside and do the stuff the Flock did. Was not too many things get to, you know, can compare to that, because that was a blast.
I want your honest thoughts on the American.
No, I'm gonna lie, Drake. I'm gonna lie straight to your face.
Well, start singing
Straight
it,
to your
Jeremy.
face.
I know where you're going. Do you want to sing it together, Jeremy? I know where you're going.
Do you want to sing it? The honest thoughts on the American
2,
males theme.
1.
American males. American males. American males. American males.
You guys are horrible.
Ah, man, it's hard to do.
The sinking. I'm gonna blame the sinking.
It's the sinking.
You guys are horrible.
I've always wanted to do that with Scotty Riggs present. So
I sit back at it looking like, I mean, that was bad. I hate to say it, but I mean, I look at it this way. We just saw Jimmy Hart this weekend in Ohio. Chillicothe, I think that's how you say it. I think I said it right. But we saw Jimmy.
I'm from. Apologies. I'm from about an hour and a half away from Chillicothe.
Really?
So, yes, I know exactly where you were. Yeah.
But the crazy thing was Jimmy Hart was there, and we're both Marcus and myself were going, "Jimmy, did you ever think 30 years later that song would still be so over?" And he's, "No way, baby, no way, not at all." But I mean, it's meow. That's the thing, man. Me and Marcus, if something happens, walk by, we go up by each other, go, "Yeah." You know, it's an animal unto its own. It's a oxygen unto its own. It's a new life of whatever. Because it's amazing how that tune has lasted. And when people hear it, then kids, when they hear it, they go, "Oh, the American Male song." It's okay. When it boils down to everything in wrestling, that tune, being associated with that tune, has probably the best memory that I will ever be able to live up to.
Well, me and Jeremy
Put Sting and the Goosebumps. It's the American Male song.
Oh, see, Sting, you come out to American Males, and then Man Called Sting, he does this, he does that right afterwards.
He's just quick. He's as strong as a bull and as quick as a cat.
Yeah, let's go.
Brother, those were the days. Those were the days. I mean, seriously, some of that stuff that you never would thought would have that much longevity, and these things do. It's insane. But that's part of what's so cool about the wrestling business like that. The little things that you never think. It's insane. It really is.
I mean, me and Jeremy are the same age. We're both 35. So we were kids growing up on WCW. Like, I'd be like, wrestling pillows in my basement, and like I'd be Scotty Riggs, my brother would be Buff Bagwell and stuff like that. And it's like, and I'd be singing the
wow.
So it was it was a bucket list thing for me to sing that song just now. So even though it was terrible, that was for me as well a little bit.
But that song's not supposed to be sung perfection. So
True.
For me to sit around and go, "That's horrible," really means it's wonderful. Hopefully, I didn't know if you actually would get that without me having to explain it to you, but that's a legit part of it. There's not supposed to be perfection in that song, and so it's so out there, and there's no words to describe this. The fact that it's still around, and you guys at 35 years of age think it's one of the coolest things in the world. It's crazy.
Pops me so much. Just a fantastic time. Fantastic theme, but a fantastic time for themes as well.
Yes. And also, so you have that going for you as far as like everyone remembers that. But then also, as a kid, I remember ECW and I remember Scotty Anton, and I had no idea what the clap was. But I was doing it. I was doing it in my basement also. I was doing this in my basement with but I didn't know what all it represented. But what was how did that all come together? Being a part of ECW and the kind of the name change and everything when that happened.
That will. Diana Myers, who is the legal representation of WCW back in that era. I remember when I was leaving. We were finally I wasn't getting signed back and all this stuff, and it was almost like your exit interview, which it wasn't. I just had to go in there to do something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember Diana Myers going, "Well, we do want to let you know before you leave that you're not allowed to use the Riggs last name." I said, "Ma'am, do you know where Scotty Riggs came from?" "Sir, it does not matter whether I know where it came from or not, how the backstory to it, the fact that we promoted it, we did this, we did that, we own every legal right to it, and if you use it in any of the form, shape, form, fashion, manner, whatever, we can sue you if we don't like it, and we request that you do not use it." I was like, "Wow, really? Okay, no problem." But basically, when I went, because they knew I was going to work for ECW, so that was basically their way of saying you cannot use it in ECW. So we basically came up with Anton because it was close to Antal, my real last name, and the clap song was written by Harry Slash, who was kind of like the Jimmy Hart of ECW music, and the wisdom of Paul Heyman. Paul pulled me aside. I think maybe the second week I was up there in Philly at the famed ECW arena. Paul sat me down and said, "This is what we're going to do with you for the next 6 months." He listed A, B, C, D, E, and swear to God, A, B, C, D, E fell almost directly as he said it would. And I was like, I've never had any boss give me a list of anything that was going to happen the way it did, and it was right there. I was like, wow. Paul Heyman definitely is a wrestling genius who knew exactly a game plan for me. He goes, "You're a great wrestler. You can get rid of anybody, make them look good. This, that, and the other can happen for you." He goes, "All we need to do is get you over, and that clap gimmick, as hokey as it is, will get you over with this crowd. It'll be the clap. And when we turn your baby face, kind of like Al Snow, the heads and everything else," he goes, "having the fans do shit like this with hands will be phenomenal when the time is right." And I trusted him. I said, well, if this right now is hokey, as everything went in the line as you said it did, I will trust you in that. So it's amazing that Paul Heyman's mindset back then, it happened just as he said it would. It was crazy.
Thoughts on him going into the Hall of Fame this year?
Well deserved. I mean, he was going in. He was going to be going in no matter what. So why not be in the heart of Philly? Right where the company is steadfast, right where the company was born and bred. And why not have that fan base, as rabid as they were then, be a little more sick and twisted for it now. So yeah, it's perfect. It's the godsend for that timing for him.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect time and the perfect place. One more ECW question I've got for you. If I remember correctly, years ago when I talked to you, I believe you, I don't want to be wrong, but I believe you told me that you were the first person to take the damn Terminator. Is that right? From RVD?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you tell that story a little bit?
For as long as me and Van Dam have known each other, again, probably started mid 92-ish, 93-ish in that time frame. And the amount of matches we worked each other starting off, that we would always trust each other, trying something new, whether it was something that, his split-legged moonsault he did for a finish back then, or a spot in the match to do this, a spot in the match to do that. You might get catered, you might get hit with a nice stiff chair shot. Never mean for it to be a stiff chair shot. It just happened to be that way that time. The next time you take it, it might be a piece of cake. But I knew it would always come to a point where you trusted him. He trusted me with his body. I trusted him with mine. The actual first time I took it was on a house show in Kansas City. And he blew my face up, broke my nose. All I can remember is putting my hands up kind of like this to protect myself. When he hit the chair, it just went boom. The edge of the seat went to my nose. You can probably see the bridge of my nose has a nice little bend in it. It's from the Van Terminator at a house show, Kansas City, setting him up for the pay-per-view to learn how to take it better. But I do sit back and think, man, how devastating would it have been if I took it like the wrong way on the pay-per-view and my face explode, because all I remember is a bright flash of white darkness. My eyes didn't see nothing but red from all the blood. Could you imagine how that would have looked on pay-per-view? Wow. Been pretty cool. Talk about that's all you need for that move. And it would have been, not that it wasn't over, but that on videotape would have been massive. But to protect my own face on a pay-per-view, I went like this.
Was there?
I didn't want to break my face again.
Was there any reservation, or did anybody be like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't do that one"?
No. It was part of the match in California. It was our first pay-per-view out there. Might as well give it the gusto that we had. And again, if we could have, wrestling's fake. If we could have scripted it out back then to have my face blow up on that pay-per-view, if we could have done that back then to have that happen, it would have been better just for prosperity, just for being on videotape and everything else. But I'm definitely glad I did not break my face again. Let's just say that much. But look, this is good that way.
Do you remember? Was Bill Alfonso holding the chair in the corner like the first time you tried it, and you were just laying there, just like hoping you didn't get hit in the face, but then got hit in the face? Again,
basically, Fonzie put the chair in front of my face. All I hear is, "Okay, Daddy, okay, Daddy." He's looking on to the crowd. Okay, baby. He's getting ready to spring up. He's springing up, baby. Here it comes, baby. And that's how I knew I was getting blow by blow call by Fonzie when the event, because I couldn't see anything. So I just basically, the first time, had the hands up, being prepared for it. And the second time I knew that no matter what was happening, my face was going to be protected by cuffing it behind my forearm. But he was doing the same thing. Here it comes, baby. Here it comes. And he was just calling it out, just like a spot. Boom, 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 boom. So it was definitely here Fonzie on play-by-play call.
Scotty, we appreciate it. I mean, you said we had as much time, but I don't want to keep you too long on this. One thing we asked.
The coolest thing I have in my room, it's actually not in this room, but it's either my Dallas Cowboys football helmet or it's a signed Bob Lilly autographed football from Mr. Cowboy, number 74. Or my probably the really coolest thing is my Matchbox car from WCW. If you're my age, you grew up with Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels, and it's on the other side of the room, but it's my Matchbox car. And to have your own Matchbox car, to me, is the coolest thing in the world. So to sit back and have one of those, in my room, that's the coolest thing I have.
Man, I need to get your Matchbox. I still have like an NWO one and maybe like a British Bulldog one from back in the day. I got to get me a Riggs Matchbox for sure.
They're still out there somewhere. I've had a few people ask me, they would send me a picture. Well, do you have this? I'm like, yeah, I actually have two of them. You keep them, you never know when they're going to show up for somewhere else. But I used to have like about 5 of them at one point, and I've given a few away along, to a fan or just somewhere here, somewhere there along the way. But I'm down to 2, but they're definitely sticking with me right now. I got to hoard them. But dude, I grew up on that. To have one of your own is so cool.
So I'm gonna pull up a picture for people who did not see these back in the day, because as Jensen mentioned, we are the same age, and I collected these myself and had plenty. I'm gonna pull up the Scotty Riggs Matchbox car here in a second once everything loads. My typical internet that wants to take a while and then riffing on as the photo gets to load up here.
Oh, I'm going to smile and kind of laugh about it. So.
I'm going to grab something to show you guys too here in just a second.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So it is attempting to load.
Well, here we go.
All right, here we go.
You run away
There we go.
to go look for something. I'll run away to go look for something. We're all, the fans will come back. It'll be 3 blank screens.
There you go. There's the Scotty Riggs Matchbox right there.
And that's purple and black Trans Am. That's a cool car,
It's a very cool car.
When it boils down to it, you can have I think it was Perry Saturn had this, something looked like, something you felt fish out the back of. Somebody might have had a Porsche or something like that, but to have that.
Did you have any say in the car, or they just kind of did whatever?
It was it was what you were given.
Okay.
At least I didn't have any say in it. If I did, then went right. maybe a 68 Impala would have been the only other thing I would substitute it for.
See, now I want to know if any wrestlers were upset. If why'd you give me this car? I would never be caught dead in something like this. Why would you put this?
There might have been a few guys, like I said, if you would have seen some of the crazy ones the guys had that they were stuck with, yeah.
I'm looking at the Perry Saturn one. The Sting one is very cool. I don't know if it's anything Sting would drive, but it looks very cool.
I don't even know what Sting's Matchbox was.
Oh yeah, I will pull this up as well. Jensen, what do you have?
So there was 3 things I wanted to show real quick. One that I think Riggs might think is kind of cool, and it's funny because it's I'm a Vikings fan. I have a signed Herschel Walker Cowboys photo here. So
very good.
Shout out to your Cowboys. Y'all totally fleeced us with that trade. So,
but say that was one of those ones that I was kind of glad Herschel came around at the time.
Yes. So I wanted to show you that.
Built our team off of that. Yes.
After all those draft picks, won some Super Bowls. Congratulations to y'all. We
just
still
a couple during that time. Yeah.
And then on a little more of a sentimental note, this you might not even remember, but back in May of 2020, I'm reading the DMs between us right now, and this had to have been at kind of one of your dark periods. And I had no idea. This is to just the person that you are, Riggs. I hit you up back in May of 2020, and I was looking to buy some signed 8x10s from you. And you told me, no cash, don't send money. And I was like, no, I want to pay. And you were like, don't do it. What's your address? And you sent me both of these right here. And I've always kept them in my office. I really, really appreciate that, man. Even when I know in hindsight that you weren't doing the best back then, and you still were so selfless that you didn't even allow me to pay for your autographs back then. So, I mean, thank you. Thanks for being such a cool guy, man.
Well, I was doing the best I could for somebody else back then. So that's all that mattered.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So, last kind of questions I had for you. You are a huge Cowboys fan. How are you feeling about Cowboys free agency right now?
I pretty much have no feeling at all because they've not done dick.
Well, I guess that's my question. Is is there anything you're expecting? What do you want them to do?
I mean, I'm looking at the team and go, well, our biggest needs are offensive line and linebackers. We had no linebackers. When Van Der Esch went down last year, we didn't have anybody to fill his shoes. At least we had Barr the year before. And they didn't keep Anthony Barr. And they're moving Javon Curse and somebody else, a safety, to play linebacker. And those guys are 200-pound guys, and they're not built to face up against a 200-some-pound lineman. They'll come running at them. Their thing is to back up and run away, to get their position. So guys play that position to stop the run. And when Travis Frederick was our center, he was the Iron Man of our team. And when you have that center position filled, who could make the calls, I just keep thinking, man, when we got Tyler Smith to pair with Tyron Smith, that was good. But Tyron Smith is older now. The wounds, the wear and tear in his body, and I think they keep him. But I'm sitting back going right now, we don't need wide receivers. We could use a running back. But O-line and linebackers. If our number 24 pick went to an O-lineman, it'd be great. The next round went to a linebacker, I'd believe it. The next round went to a lineman again, I'd be thumbs up. Fourth round went to a linebacker, be yes. Fifth round, a running back, I'd be a happy camper if that was how our draft went. Because those are our glaring needs where you just don't get a cornerback because you can get one, or a receiver because we don't need those guys. Diggs is coming back after his ACL tear. So we got guys who can be filling holes. So just fill our needs and find somebody who can be a leader in his team. Not Micah Parsons, who's going into his fifth year. He's a leader, but he's not the leader we need. We need somebody on there that we don't have the leader on the team. We just don't. And we need that big time. So there's a lot of shoes to fill. Dan Quinn started off like gangbusters for us. And he's kind of petered out towards the end. So when it comes down to free agency, I'm just sitting back, like any other Cowboys fan, a little delusional, but happily on a merry way right now. I'll be glad when this time frame is over, so we ain't going to talk about it anymore.
Fair. And one thing that you guys are phenomenal at as a franchise is drafting. You guys are really good about like drafting young players, developing young players, and then when it's time to move on, moving on.
Yeah, we've had some good drafts. We've done well with CD. Micah Parsons, the coolest thing in the world to me was the night he got drafted. I followed him right away, and swear to God, 2 hours later he followed me back. I was like, no way. That'd be like a wrestling fan, following Ric Flair, and 2 hours later, Ric Flair followed you back. It was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Because he's such a youngster, he's a stud, coming from Penn State. I was like, dude, it's super cool. And it's just something I embraced with it. So I'm looking forward to it. And there's a lot of growth that team still needs to do. And it's just like, man, but we got lame duck McCarthy a year. You just like go, wow, what can we do? What kind of, you just kind of wonder. Just kind of wonder where we're going this year. Where are we going?
I appreciate the loyalty, and as a Minnesota Vikings fan, or just different teams, but I love the NFL. I get really excited for it, so it's all in good fun. And that's the last thing I had. I know we had way more time with you than what we initially planned, but I mean, I can't thank you enough for not only spending your time with us today, but everything else I mentioned earlier about just years ago helping me boost my confidence and just helping with me interviewing people, you sending me stuff when you absolutely didn't have to. I mean, I like just talking MMA with you randomly, like when we do the fight picks and stuff. Like, so you I know you're someone who you don't want to feel like you're a burden on people, and you or maybe used to be. There was a time there where you were kind of a recluse, but at the same time, you always made me feel welcome in kind of your world. So I always appreciate that, man.
Hey, man, I couldn't unabashedly hit you with a steel chair. have fun that way. But, metaphorically, I got a couple shots in you when I could. I think you come out the better for it.
Scotty, we appreciate again you being so generous with your time tonight, and it's just been great to follow your journey and just see where you were to where you are now, and listening and learning so much about you, even more about you today. And I've already put it out there on social media. I was so geeked up to sing American Males, and then we started singing a band called Sting. I was like, "You're never taking this moment away."
You transitioned it perfectly.
Oh, look,
American Males, some men they call Sting. You did well.
Those are the bangers right there. So nobody's taking that moment away from me. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time tonight. Thank you so much just for being honest and sharing your story with us, because I know that can just be, in general, a hard thing to do. And I hope it inspires others, because just listening was very inspirational for me here tonight. So I appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you at. Anything you want to plug, go ahead and put anything out there.
Well, right now you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Real Scotty Riggs. And if you want to book me on any shows coming up, you can get me on BookScottyRiggs at gmail.com, or you can actually go through Buff Bagwell also to get the American Males booked together. MarkBuffBagwell.com, I think is what his email address is. MarcusBuffBagwell at gmail.com, so I get him booked also. So BookScottyRiggs at gmail.com is the biggest thing. And any promoters out there looking for the males, looking for me, send me a message.
There we go. All the links are below, everyone. You can find Scotty on social media. You can go to the email to Book Scotty and Marcus. Again, we appreciate it so much. We appreciate you hanging out with us for this past hour and 40 minutes. Now, thank you so much for your time tonight. And guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We're back. Big thank you to Scotty Riggs for being so generous with his time here to really on Tuesday night when we recorded the interview. We appreciate Scotty hanging out with us for an hour and 40 minutes and telling so much about his story, about his journey in wrestling, and then the ups and the downs, and how he's really picked himself back up over these last 6 months working with Diamond Dallas Page. It's really inspirational to hear. Hopefully everybody got something out of that interview, whether it was how you can pick yourself back up, or the fun times Scotty had in his career. A lot of fun stuff with Scotty Riggs. Guys, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today on the show. It was a longer episode, but we were really excited to interview Scotty Riggs, and he was very generous with his time, so we appreciate that. We appreciate all of you. We appreciate everybody in the chat. We appreciate everybody who sent in a super chat. If you left a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out Sean's interview with Swerve Strickland. That is also right here on this channel. You can check out the AEW Dynamite post show from last night. Head over to FightfulOverbooked.com. That is the sister channel. Right now we have a new episode of Movie Club. Josh Alexander reviewing The Town. That's right. Josh Alexander gives his review of The Town. Everyone can go check that out. Movie Club is a new series we've launched thanks to the great Gisberto, and Rob Wilkins is also part of that as well, where wrestlers review movies. So if you want to hear wrestlers talk about something that isn't wrestling, you can check out Movie Club on Fightful Overbooked. Also on Fightful Overbooked, we have Coexisting every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Oh, sorry. Geez, I'm way off on my plugs here. Coexisting is Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern with Rob and Maggie on Fightful Overbooked. In the Weeds is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern with myself and Joel Pearl. We got a new episode of New Japan Bread Club that's up now. Corey's been doing a lot of interview with UK and Irish talent out there. We also have our cut interviews from In the Weeds and Spotlight that are going up over there. And we have another new series, Wrestling Made Me Cry, with Kylie and Auntie Collins. That was on this past Sunday. It is going to be every Sunday at noon Eastern as well. So a lot of stuff over on FightfulOverbooked.com. You can head over there, subscribe to the channel, support us. We appreciate all of the supports over there, over here, all of this. We appreciate it all. Head over to FightfulSelect.com, head over to Fightful.com. We appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all next week. Everyone, have a good weekend. Enjoy whatever you're going to watch this weekend, whether it is wrestling or other. Take care, everyone.